gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forza, I can tear it down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down. Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forza, I can tear it down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down.
Yo. Welcome to The Fix. I'm Infinite Umbra. I'm joined by my good brother, Daniel McGee.
How's it going?
Nah, it's going all right. We're joined tonight by two of our greater content brothers in the game right now, making all types of content. Actually, doing much more than I believe myself and others in the game, actually, in a lot of ways. Then I'm really proud of them, and I need to step up to get to their levels. We're joined by Retry and Web Dave. Yay!
That's good.
I'm
I'm laughing because I swear every time we're talking Umbra, I hear the cops coming for you. I don't know what's going on up in the chai over there, but every time I feel like there's an ambulance or something.
Man,
it's to keep the crowd back because he's so awesome.
It's security for
sure.
Swooning.
Yeah, they're coming after me.
Good. Yeah, good to be here, man. Good to be here.
Man, good to have you all. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So as you all might see, Web Dave here is, you see David Anthony. He tried to go with his I guess sexy lady's name for to use for ladies.
Oh
David Anthony, how are you?
David Anthony.
Yeah. That does sound like a movie star name, to be fair.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, several movies, but none of them are available. What? Somebody's eye out.
So let me ask you, fellas, what have you all been up to this week? What have you been playing? How's your week been so far?
Go ahead, Dave. I'll let you go first.
Well, it's going really good because I'm on a staycation, which means I'm staying at home, but I'm off work and getting paid for it. So I'm loving that.
Beautiful.
So yeah, played a few games. So the Benedict Fox played that. Played the oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the show. Ravenlock.
Was it
Thank you.
Ravenlock? Yeah.
You knew what I
Yep,
was going
knew,
for, didn't you?
Yep, I knew exactly what we were gonna say.
Played that.
You forgot it
Well,
last time. That's
love
why I
it.
knew.
I did. I'm such a dork. But yeah. And then and then of course a little bit of the game that shall not be named, Redfall. And other than that, that's pretty much it right now. I'm probably going to jump in this weekend a lot, but my son's coming over, my daughter's off for a couple days, so we're probably going to be gaming it up pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. How are you feeling the Ravenlock, by the way? As you can see,
I love
it's
it.
showing on the screen right now. Look at that. Coincidental.
Ravenlock's awesome. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it was a lot of fun. Like I needed something. I finished Ravenlock. I needed something simple. It's really, really beautiful. Like Coco Cucumber. I think they're like a studio of like 8 or 9 people, and man, like they produce a really good product for the amount of people they have. So, and of course, I've been playing Redfall too. So
yeah.
You
You know
started
how that
saying
goes.
Coco Cucumber. I did not know that was the studio's name. I thought you were just going to start talking about like.
Do you think I was gonna
shampoo
start talking
or,
about
like, something.
Jetpack Sex? Or
I
just gonna
we'll
jump
get
right
to
in?
that. We'll get to that. That's all about. That's all you.
Yeah, it's a weird
Yeah.
name. I know it's not a studio name I would have chosen. But it is what it is.
It's kind of cute though. I'm not against it.
It sounds like
it's adorable for the type of games that they make. It kind of fits.
It kind of fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of sounds like
Yeah.
to me something you'll see on PBS or something like Coco Cucumber.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It comes right after Caillou.
Right.
So
Oh, I used to hate that damn show. My nephew used
I hate
to
that
watch
kid.
it. Yeah, crying all
what a
the
spoiled
time.
little brat.
Yeah, I'm
Hate
like, beat you out. Shut up, you bald-headed kid. You.
him.
Man, what about you, Danny? What you been up to, brother?
Honestly, a lot of the same. I actually finished Redfall, which
Wow. Nice.
it's
It's a
it is
game.
exactly what I've been saying it is. It was exactly the game I thought it would be, just with a lot more bugs. So that was a little bit disappointing. It's not. It ends in like an interesting way where it's clearly like it clearly ends in a way where at least originally the plan was to do either DLC or maybe a sequel somewhere down the road. Like it very much ends on that like, hey, this is over, but maybe it's not sort of way.
Question mark.
And I'm like, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be over, but I think I'm done with it.
It's over for you at least.
It's over for me. Daniel McGartland will not appear again. And then I went and I saw Guardians 2, Guardians 3, which I've actually seen 2 times now because I have a problem.
No.
Really good, like it a lot. Yeah, I went with one group of friends, and then another group was like, "Have you seen this yet?" And I was like, "No." And I went again.
Yeah.
I have not.
So,
And you just predict everything that happens. So like,
well,
wow,
I bet
man, you're
that right
good.
now this is when all of the planets are going to explode and everyone dies. Spoilers
Exactly.
for that thing that definitely happens.
I'm gonna say that's not probably too
Everybody
far-fetched.
dies.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
how the last one was. So yeah, it's possible.
It's really good. It's a really good movie. Highly recommend. It's really cool to see that James Gunn is just he's going to leave. Like, one of my concerns was that he was going to leave Marvel on like kind of a low note. Like he was like, well, this isn't my problem anymore, so I'm going to leave. And there's definitely some aspects of it that feel a little bit rushed, which I think is just because this was his last thing before he's going to be super busy elsewhere.
Right.
But I'm really glad that he didn't do what the guys who were doing Game of Thrones, I forget their names.
I forgot their names too, but
The brothers or whatever.
But,
like,
yeah.
they got signed to they got signed to do like a Star Wars movie or something, and so they were just like, well, we're done with Game of Thrones, let's get out of here, and just like completely poop the shower on the way out.
Yeah.
And James Gunn definitely didn't do that, and I that's commendable. So yeah, highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it in the chat, go see it.
It's very good. I saw it yesterday. It's awesome.
Oh, so you went and seen it too, huh, Rich?
Yep.
By the way,
My wife was like, "Hey, you want to go to the movies?" I was like, "I got a movie."
Yeah,
It was the only one I cared about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Benioff and DB Wise were the names.
Right.
There you
I
go.
say that
Yeah.
because we should shame them for what they did to Game of Thrones.
They basically
Shame.
disappeared
Shame.
from the industry.
Shame.
They did that, and their names just became mud. Like their Star Wars thing got immediately canceled, and I have not
Yeah.
heard of
Before
it
the-
making sense.
They also have a
Before the
contract with
Star
Netflix
Wars
too.
thing, They were supposed
Oh,
to
yeah.
do. I don't remember if you
Mhm.
guys heard about this, but they were supposed to do the Civil War series or whatever, where the South won. I don't know if you guys ever heard about that, but that's what they were supposed to do even before Star Wars. So I don't know what the hell
I don't
happened
know.
with that either. But yeah,
It's,
I guess
was
they
like,
just dropped everything for Star Wars,
it's
which
made,
like fair
it's
on
made
one
even
hand,
worse.
but
Yeah, it's made even worse because everybody else was behind it in support of the
Yeah.
continuing properly, except them.
hmm
And then they did
Except
that,
for them.
and they didn't even make Star Wars. It was like, what was that? What was that all about?
yeah,
hmm
what a
Anyway,
shame.
Yeah, what a shame. John Wolf in the chat says those guys pulled a Redfall with the last season of Game of Thrones.
Not cool. True though,
Yeah.
but true.
Yeah.
Too soon, John Wolf.
100%. Unfortunate, but true.
Speaking of chat, I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat who's joined us so far. What's up, Truly? I see you, my boy. Gray, one of our mods, Gray Shooter. I see Alakazam. Gonna pull some magic tricks. Who else is in here? I see. That's a bunch down below. Let me scroll down. Give me 1 second. I see Punty, Logic, my brother. What's up, brother? John Wolf again. Rob the Legacy. All right, Rob, I see you. Lifting. He probably lifting right now while he listens to us or something. And it was somebody else. Of course, Yodani, I see you jumped in. Oh, and Drawn TJ. What's up, brother? Oh, and AGH.
Oh, Shooter McGavick. Oh yeah.
AJH says, Umbra, you need to make the show earlier or later so it doesn't conflict with Mav Pong's show. Yeah, that was one of the
Big Bad
conflicts.
Mo's in there too.
What's up, Big
We'll
Mad
just-
Mo?
We'll have a crossover episode one week. We'll just
Yeah.
get him in here.
We'll have a podcast off, and the strongest survives. How about that? AJH? We'll debate about Unreal Engine or something. I'll win if that's.
hmm
Hey, so Danny, could you give us the news
Yeah.
roundup for this week, brother?
Sure, absolutely. So just a couple of quick ones to go through before we get to the real meat and potatoes of today's episode. Is first things first. So apparently Arcane is maker of Redfall is already looking forward to their next game, which the article that's been spread around about this is a little misleading and or poorly written in my opinion. Not to put anyone on blast, I don't even know the name of the person who wrote it. So their assertion in this article is that because Arcane is posting new job positions, that means that they have completely like abandoned Redfall and are moving like 100% onto the next project, which is 100% doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Also, they failed to make the distinction between if those job postings are for Arcane Lyon or for Austin, so I don't even know if it's for the right studio. So just like not a really great source of information, this article. But secondly, also even if it is Arcane Austin, the idea that they're making job postings for their next game doesn't mean that they're going to give up support for Redfall. You know what I mean? Like that's such a ludicrous idea in my opinion. Because it's like, first of all, yes, they almost certainly already know what their next game is going to be, and I would hazard to guess that they've probably already started working on it in some capacity. Be that even if it's just conceptuals or like early writing type stuff. Like, you know, all the teams that wouldn't be involved in fixing the state of Redfall currently are probably already working on whatever the next thing is, because that's just how it works. Like, not everyone finishes their section of the game at the same time. You know what I mean? So I honestly, probably they've already been working on whatever the next game is for several months at this point. And it's just the sort of tech team QA team that's going back and trying to take the poop out of the shower drain, as it were. So
was that Game Rant that did that story?
you know, I don't actually have it
Okay.
here, but
Sound-
yeah, I think
sounds
that's
familiar.
about right.
Yeah, sounded like a non-story.
Yeah. Either way,
I mean,
it's one of those
people are
situations
always
where,
there.
like, well, don't tell this guy that Bethesda's already announced, like, Elder Scrolls 6 and also low-key announced Fallout 5 for after that, and, like, Insomniac's already talking about Wolverine. Like, this is a very normal practice, so, I don't know, but it was getting spread around a lot. So the second news story here, PlayStation has shut down Pixel Opus. This is the maker of Concrete Genie and Entwined, so smaller, sort of more artsy games. It's a real bummer because it sort of plays into this continued trend that PlayStation's been having lately, which clearly is working for them on a business level. So, you know, I know that some people are going to want to defend it in that way instead of being like, well, people lost their jobs, you know, so I don't know. But it's just this newest data point on the trail of like, okay, well, Japan Studio was shut down. with the exception of Team Asobi, which got spun off. Media Molecule had Dreams support shut down, and 3 of the 4 co-founders have all left in the last 6 months, as well as a pretty decent number of people from smaller positions leaving, which implies that Media Molecule might be next on the chopping block. And then, of course, there's the whole situation that we had with Sony Bend a couple years back, where it was like they got blocked for making Days Gone 2, and then like the studio head left and was really angry, and Jason Schreier had that whole expose where he was like, "Oh, Sony Bend is being made into a support studio, and people internally are joking and calling it Naughty Dog North," and like then. But people, I think, have moved past that, because one PlayStation PR guy came out and was like, "No, they're totally working on something else," and then like we've heard nothing since then to verify that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just another data point on the very correct assertion by, I think it was originally Jason Schreier, that PlayStation is really focusing on making a smaller number of bigger games and then buying other games to make up that portfolio.
I think that's been the case for them for a while. I think ever since the PS3 era, they've kind of gone away from that diversity kind of swing.
Yeah, which is kind of a disappointment. Like, not that the games that they make are bad, obviously, because the ones that they make are generally very highly rated and very good. It's just disappointing that, like, hey, if this team wasn't performing, then why didn't you help them get to a point where they were performing? You know what I mean? Instead of just shutting them down and putting those people back, like, out of a job in a time where it's very hard to get a job in tech.
I wonder though, are they
like
folding? Are they not folding any of these people into other positions at other studios or anything?
No, I mean, I'm sure some of them will find jobs in other places in Sony, but based on the article or the press release that they said when they announced that they were shutting it down, they didn't say anything specific about that. But I'm sure that some people will find jobs very quickly, but there's always going to be a couple.
Was this studio the one with 20 people in it? Like, this was
it's a very small
right?
studio, which is surprising because it's like PlayStation has been buying up all of these other very small studios, but they're shutting this one down instead of like helping them grow to become this like potentially new big studio for them. Because the way that I see it now, and you know, I'm not the biggest PlayStation fan, I like what they do, but the way I see it now is they kind of only have 5 big studios that seem to be like really holding the weight of the rest of the company, right? You got, you know, your Naughty Dog, your Insomniac, you know, all those guys, and then the rest are just kind of like there. And I think that if you're an employee at Media Molecule, or even to a lesser extent over maybe even at like maybe what is it, Sony San Diego, I think, who does the MLB The Show games, like I would be a little bit concerned about my job right now. And as somebody who, if I was in one of the new teams that was being bought, especially the ones that haven't put a game out yet, like, I think this puts a lot of pressure on them to make sure that their first game is a hit, because if it's not, who knows?
Well, Sony San Diego, I would say they're pretty safe, because
they're probably fine.
I think San Diego's definitely fine. But Media Molecule, on the other hand, like with Dreams, just didn't quite hit. I mean, they made, like, I think, was Media Molecule Little Big Planet? That was them, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So that's
Technically
like a fantastic game. But
Yeah.
I don't want to see, like, we've been talking about, like, Sony's just not weird anymore, and I think Media Molecule is one of those studios that they have that is still kind of like Double Fine for Xbox, and I don't want to see them go away or even get folded in. You know what I mean?
Right.
We need to keep those studios around.
Right, and like clearly on a business level, like PlayStation's doing fine. So like this isn't like, oh, PlayStation's gonna shut down, like doom and gloom. But like it really sucks for those people who lost their job. And as a person who really liked Concrete Genie, I'm really upset about it.
Yeah, it was a good game.
So just to move on to the next one.
Yes.
I see AJH. He says, Daniel, if you would like to see a huge mic drop, Zeitgeist moment for Microsoft. Microsoft gets in talks with Valve and allows Arcane to carry on working on their Half-Life game.
Can you imagine?
That'd be crazy.
Arcane would genuinely do a really good job with the Half-Life IP. Like, no joke. 100%. That's basically the same kind of game that they make, is that sort of immersive sim.
If they stick within that wheelhouse, I can possibly see that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see that partnership happening, but I'd be very excited to.
Yeah, and I see VJ in the chat. What's up, VJ? He says just to say
What's up, VJ?
hello, and also studio closure decision not taken lightly, and it's not that easy to keep one open for a myriad of reasons.
Oh no, I totally get that, but it still sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next story, Plague Tale Requiem has just gotten its 60 frame performance mode, which is really cool.
Yay.
This was probably a little bit overdue in my opinion. But Plague Tale Requiem, genuinely, even at 30 frames a second, was one of my favorite games of. Was that last year or was that 2 years? It's a flat circle. That was last year, right?
Yeah, that was 2022, I believe. And you're rightfully so. It's an awesome
It's
narrative
so
driven game.
Yeah,
It is
if
really,
you
really
haven't played it, there's never been a better time. I highly recommend going and play it. Great story, really fun, love the characters, and I think you will too.
Yeah.
But not much to say about that. Just a good game's getting even better.
Yep.
What else do we have in the news?
GTA 6 is apparently the most expensive game ever made, which is on one hand not surprising, and on the other hand, really
The amount,
crazy.
though,
Yeah,
like, is
so-
just, it doesn't seem believable.
Yeah, so the
Sorry, go
range
ahead.
that they gave us, no, you're 100% right. The range that they gave us for the pricing on the budget of this game is between $1 and $2 billion, which is, can I just say, similar to if I was
What?
like, yeah, come on over. I live between Canada and Mexico. Show up to my front door. Like that's
That's
such a
very
huge,
true.
that's
It's a big
such
gap.
huge gap.
Maybe they meant $1 billion pesos. Maybe that's what they meant then.
I mean, I hope so. I really do.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel like I said, this isn't super surprising, and because it's Grand Theft Auto, literally, even if this game is bad, it'll make that money back.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's completely valid. Although to be fair, because of how long it takes between games for Rockstar, probably a lot of this is just going to paying people to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this is probably a lot of just overhead, if I had to guess. But obviously Rockstar, like, their track record speaks for themselves. So it's
I wonder how much
undoubtedly
of
gonna
that
be
is
amazing.
marketing too, because they actually market
Yeah,
the
well,
crap
that-
out of their games like
Yeah,
a lot.
it's
So.
gotta
True.
be, I would
And-
imagine a good several hundred million probably to market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Although, you know, who's to say? Maybe Microsoft or Sony will step in and help them out with the marketing a
It
little
would
bit.
be
I'm
nice.
guessing.
Yeah.
It
Go
would be a
ahead.
good move
No,
for
speaking of
either
which, imagine Microsoft is. You want to talk about Zeitgeist? HH,
Yeah.
Imagine Microsoft stepping in to make some type of deal with Rockstar for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just the
this is why.
marketing deal.
This is why I was just gonna. This is why I was gonna say, like, there's no chance of this probably hitting Game
Yeah.
Pass now.
Oh,
Because the
absolutely
money
not.
you're gonna have to
Oh, yeah.
drop off is
yeah.
insane.
No, I do
Like,
think
I mean,
you'll
I never thought it
probably-
was, but
Maybe they
Yeah,
can just
you'll-
outright buy them. No, I'm just joking. But yeah.
I don't even. You'll probably see Grand Theft Auto 5 go in shortly before the launch of Grand Theft Auto 6, whenever that
Yeah.
eventually gets announced, hopefully sooner rather than later. Because that's just something that people seem to do a lot, is before a big game comes out, they'll like put the newer one in there to advertise it a little bit. I could definitely see them doing that with Grand Theft Auto 5, especially since it's already been in Game Pass, I think twice.
See,
So
now I just read this in the chat, and this is what I hope. See, because my buddy Halo Gaming, what's up, brother? He says Sony is probably
up,
getting
Halo Gaming?
marketing. I hope that's not the case, and this is why
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm
wouldn't
mad
be
about
surprised.
Microsoft, because and
Yeah.
none of us would be surprised, would we? And
nope,
it's like
not at all.
it's like Microsoft, get on that. It should never be a case where we just oh well, yeah, Sony probably has it. Like, that should not be our thought process. It should be the case where
Yeah.
Microsoft might challenge for this. That should be
Yeah.
the thinking, but it's never that thinking, because Microsoft seems to be lax when it comes to that nowadays. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I think it's because you get the numbers guy and the numbers guys involved, and it's just like every time because no matter what the PlayStation's gonna pay, Xbox is gonna probably have to pay twice as much,
I
just
imagine.
based off of
100%.
you know what I'm
And-
saying, just based off of the number of people.
That's fair.
So they're probably like, it's probably just not worth it. So we're just getting rolled over every single time.
Yeah,
which is
and
getting
based
really
on
annoying.
the number for the budget of the game already, like
Yeah,
that
oh
normal
my
price that
God.
Sony's going to pay, assuming they get it, is already going to be ridiculously high. So to double that
Yeah.
or whatever it is, undoubtedly going to be for Xbox, because, you know, less platform.
Mhm.
That's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
So,
So-
I don't know. We'll see.
We speak about 60 frames, 30 frames, all these performance modes and lack thereof.
Yeah.
And one of the new gaming news, I don't know if you all saw it, but the Plague Tale Requiem just got their 60 frames per second update.
We just talked about that.
Did you all
Where
mention
were
that?
you?
We
Yeah.
just talked about that.
I was looking out for the police. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, we should have just pretended like we
dude.
we didn't
Yeah,
talk
it was
about
great,
it.
yeah.
Dang it!
Yeah, I
Where's
swear.
the time machine?
Wait,
I swear. I
what
didn't hear this.
happened?
I tuned out apparently at on the show, but
No, you're good.
no, I was just
You've
gonna
been
say.
sleep deprived.
Yeah, that's true. No, that Redfall Game of the Year edition has kept me up.
Makes sense, makes sense. That's how it gets you.
I was just gonna say briefly on it that because I don't know how I missed you guys mentioning that, but it makes, and I think you may have, you know what, I think I did hear you say something along the lines of made a great game better, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I heard it, but I didn't hear it. It's weird, isn't it?
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. I see how it is.
Yeah.
Just tuning me out. Uh-huh. Well, they're already at episode 5, and mommy and daddy are fighting.
There we go.
Uh,
There we
So,
go.
Well, in a-
Daniel, did you say something? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What's up, spooky brother? I see you in the chat. My brother from another. Oh, shout out to Spooky, by the way, who started back up his Backlog Bastards show now with
hell yeah.
Charlie Hustle and I believe Cerebral Paul. Yeah.
Nice.
Shout out,
Congrats,
Spooky.
bro.
Spooky also has a wrestling show, Danny. Maybe you all might need to link up. I know you love wrestling too.
We're going to have to talk wrestling sometime.
Yeah, some wrestling.
Umbra won't let me talk about it here because he's afraid of the grabs.
Yeah,
But,
I don't want the spirit of Macho Man. Oh
but
yeah.
in a short break from gaming news, the one piece of movie news we have on here is James Gunn has confirmed that an actor from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will appear in the very first movie of his DC universe, which is Superman Legacy.
Nice.
Now, the number one sort of guess for this, or fan theory, whatever you want to call it, completely unconfirmed, but just people, hoping, I guess, is Will Poulter as Jimmy Olsen. So Will Poulter is the actor who's playing Adam Warlock in the movie.
That'd be perfect.
Yep.
And I think that's 100% a great pick. I think he was a decent Adam Warlock. No spoilers, but he honestly doesn't do a ton in the movie, which
I
was
had
a little bit
feeling-
disappointing.
I had a feeling that
Yeah.
was the case, by the way. But that
Yeah,
guy-
I mean, he's good and he's funny.
Yeah.
He's not a great representation of the comic book character Adam Warlock, but I
Mhm.
really like the version of Adam Warlock he is, if that makes sense.
So they did a decent job with him. Oh, that's good. To know.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I thought they did pretty good with him.
Yeah,
He's definitely
He got
love
crazy.
more on the
buff.
funny side.
Marvel
he's
needs to get away from just
got like
making
a-
everybody a comic
like
character.
a 14 pack, my guy. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
crazy. But he definitely, I think he has a lot of the same qualities of Jimmy Olsen, because he is very, he's very funny. He's very easy to love. Like you watch this guy in interviews, and he very much is that character. But who knows? There's a dog in there who plays Cosmo. Maybe he's just making a joke about how Cosmo's also going to be crypto or something. You know what I mean? Like, it could be literally anything. But that would just be Will Poulter's Jimmy Olsen would be my favorite choice, I think, of the ones I saw online.
That's a good one.
He actually does look like him, so I can see that actually.
He does. He really looks the part. I think it's a good shout.
Yeah.
But
see a
back to
few-
gaming.
few
Oh,
of
sorry,
our
go ahead.
brothers in there just want to shout out. What's up, 108s?
Yeah.
AKA Lemon. Doovie, my brother. Hey, welcome. Casino. I see you. Boom. Craig Ravage. Sounds like Macho Man. It sounds like a wrestling name too, doesn't it?
It does kind of a little bit.
Yeah, Craig Ravage. Let me tell you something, brother. No, okay. Sorry.
I think
Cuff
that's
him, Greg.
I think that's boom.
That is.
It is.
I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah.
It's him.
To go back to gaming news for a second here, Jez Corden specifically, not to be confused with James Corden, the awful comedian / TV host. He has teased
What?
that there's
He has car
a
karaoke. He's not that bad.
He,
He's got one good
let's
stick.
disagree. Anyway, Jez has teased that there is a Dead Rising project in the works over there at the Capcom. And I desperately hope that it's more akin to Dead Rising 1 and 2, because 3 was bad and 4 was awful. So I hope they go back to the roots. I don't know what happened over there. They were like, I think they just took the wrong hints from Dead Rising 2, where we were like, yeah, these combo weapons are really cool. And then they were like, what if combo weapons was the whole game? And then they're like, what if combo weapons was the whole game? And also we tried really hard to be funny, but just didn't understand comedy. It was like, cool, yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that.
Do you want it to be a more serious tone though?
No,
the
I would
rumor
like
was
even
suggesting?
Dead
Okay,
Rising
'cause I
1
definitely
was
don't want that.
comedic. I just don't
Right.
want it to be
that?
we're fighting a mall Santa that like doesn't even have a name. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I hear you.
that. Dead Rising 4 was really bad, guys. I'm sorry.
Do you feel like they should make it more personal, like make it like
Just give me like characters.
that you
Give me a
act-
story
you
that is
actually
funny
can come
and
to like
good to
and
play.
fear it for, dying
Yeah.
and such. That'd be cool. Yeah, I guess they got so many different ones. I mean, because we have State of Decay 3. That's the only reason I'm like, they don't have to, because we have some somewhat serious ones coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Dead Rising famously was the only game that I ever enjoyed weapon degradation in. Looking at you, Zelda. So they've done some good things and some bad things.
Yeah. Okay. What else
On
do we
the
have?
announcement front,
Yeah.
so I think sort of slightly conflicting pieces of news here, but Mortal Kombat has been leaked prior to an assumed very soon announcement, either at this PlayStation showcase that could happen literally at any point, because they don't give us a lot of lead up to when they're doing it. So it could be tomorrow for all I know, or at the Xbox event, or even just at Summer Game Fest. Who's to say? But sometime in the Summer Game announcement window, according to the leak, it's going to be a reboot that's just called Mortal Kombat. The leak specifically said Mortal Kombat 1, but then the image that they said didn't have the 1. So I'm really hoping that they don't call it Mortal Kombat 1, because but we'll see.
Just Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Apparently it's shooting for a
simple.
September launch, which would put it
doesn't
in the
have
same
a catchy
month.
ring to it with the one.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound as good.
Mhm.
But if it launches in September, they'd put it right next to Starfield and
yeah.
Spider-Man, which would be, I think, maybe not the best time for them to put that out, but whatever.
Probably
Especially
not.
since this year is like really good for fighting games. Honestly, I think if I was Ed Boon or Warner Brothers, I might hold on to it until next year. There's a lot of really big fighting games coming out this year. And the other part of the leak is that apparently some of the guest characters are going to be DC's Peacemaker, John Cena, or Homelander from Amazon's The Boys,
Hell yeah,
who
that's
are
the
in some
one right
ways
there.
very similar characters.
That would be dope.
True. I do love Homelander though. Oh my god.
Yeah, both
I would
a
love
lot of fun. I would be very happy to play as either of them, even though I'm not particularly a fighting game guy.
I did see Ed Boon make a tweet. I think
Yeah, he put a tweet out that said,
Saying
"Hey,
that he
we
didn't
haven't announced that our
confirm
next
it.
game is
Yeah,
Mortal
Right.
Kombat."
Who says
Which is
Mortal
like-
Kombat? Somebody in the chat.
Yeah.
His tweet said your shareholders did.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange. Who's to say?
He's a troll
I mean,
though. He does that.
Oh,
That doesn't surprise me. He would say that.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely a troll. But we'll see.
Toasty.
Mortal Kombat, or sorry, Call of Duty has also had its new game for the year potentially leaked, and it's not a whole lot on this one. Just there's going to be a new
Shocker.
Call of Duty this year, and it's going to apparently be called Modern Warfare 3, which I feel like is very unsurprising given
Very
how the last two were.
Very creative.
But here
Also
we are.
coming in November. Also not surprising.
Yeah. So
It's our
got that to look forward to, I guess.
to play Call of Duty.
Yeah, I guess it is sort of strange because I remember earlier in the year there were all the reports that there wasn't going to be a new one this year, and it was just going to be like a big update for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and then I guess that isn't true anymore. I don't know. I guess we'll find out soon.
I heard, and I don't know if this is true. I heard that was never true, and it was just BS rumors that people were making up. And I heard like
Yeah.
within the studios that was never the plan. So I don't know which one to believe.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised either way.
I was shocked when we were like, "What? They're not going to do it annually, man." All right, I guess that just means they're going to make less money, but
Yeah,
which doesn't seem like something that they would do. But
no, certainly not under
yeah.
Activision.
exactly.
My only really complaint with Call of Duty at this point is I wish they would get weird with it. I know people didn't
I
like
agree.
Infinite Warfare or whatever the future one was, but like, I don't know. I feel like all Call of Duty sort of feel the same at this point, to where if you've played one, you can probably skip like 3 or 4 years and then just grab
Mhm.
the 5th one.
I agree
don't
with
know.
you. I'll play them all, but I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think they need to get weird, or just let another studio and do something weird and just have the serious one every
For
other
sure.
year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
And then the last
play
bit-
I don't play
Oh, go ahead.
enough of Call of Duty to care enough, because I don't care for the multiplayer. There's too Twitch
Yeah.
style, I don't care for. But the campaigns, I have to give them credit for, because 2019 was actually really dope to me. I have to say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
That's
for
what I've
that-
been hearing. I
yeah.
genuinely haven't played a Call of Duty in
Yeah.
in a
year,
hot
a
minute.
decade.
I
yeah.
feel you.
So,
I feel you. Trust me. I'm just not. It's not for me really. But the campaigns, I'll give them the credit for. Occasionally, I hated Ghost. Actually,
Yeah.
that put me.
I mean,
off
they
of it
always
for a
review
while.
well, so
Yeah, they do.
there is that at least. And on the last piece of the quick news roundup here is, hey, Zelda's good, I guess. Apparently, reviews have dropped for Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild 2: Tears of the Kingdom: this time for real. I don't know.
Oh, that's failure of a game. What is it scored like in the 20s?
Such a big fan. Such a big fan. No, it's like all 10s, baby. It's
Oh.
like all 10 out of 10, all 5 out of 5. You know, it's
surprising.
yeah, sometimes
It's
people
fake.
Who would have thunk that?
well, when you tell the emperor that you can only see his clothes if you've got like a really big wiener and you're super cool, and then everyone else pretends that the emperor is wearing clothes, then this is what happens. You know what I mean?
Sorry, what? What about a wiener?
Now,
that the one word
now
you
we
pulled
hear
out there?
Dave chime in finally after
Where
all
is
this. He said, "What'd you say now? You want to run
You
it?"
talking about wieners? I have many opinions on wieners.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh no, please.
Oh no. He's like, I use that on all the ladies.
Yeah, I did see one or two reviews that were much lower, and I'm like, good, nature is healing. But yeah, no, for the most part, overwhelmingly positive, which I guess means that this Zelda hits the 10 out of 10 Zelda recipe, which if you don't know, the recipe to get a 10 out of 10 Zelda game, this is from a professional. Yeah, this is from a real cookbook. That was written by Schmanuel Schmigartland, and it's only 3 recipes. It's only 3 ingredients. It's the hardtack of gaming, right? Just the most easy like subsistence living thing you can find. Number 1 has Link in it, right? You got to have little Linkle in there, and he's got to do at least one hya, and then that's a 6 out of 10 already, right? You can put him in a black void. That's a 6 out of 10 already. We're good. Right. Number 2, you have to have a bunch of characters in there that are just attractive enough that creepazoids will make porn of them, but not attractive enough that like adults will want to see that porn. And you surround Link with those characters and have them say a bunch of nonsense that if you don't really pay attention to it, almost sound profound. But then when you do listen to it, you recognize that the voice acting is really bad. It's very important. It's very important that the voice acting be bad, right? It needs to sound like you called in your cousin Vinny to just read like fortune cookies, right? Like just complete nonsense.
It says here, fortune is, yeah.
That's right. And then ingredient 3, this is all you need to make a 10 out of 10 Zelda game. Ingredient 3 is you have to have a mechanic that is core to the game that was directly lifted from a video game from about 15 years ago that we can pretend is new, right? It's very important that we are able to pretend that it has to be from long enough ago that we can pretend that it's new so that everyone can say how innovative Nintendo is, because this is the only game where they even pretend to be innovative. So we have to get that in there. And that's how you make a 10 out of 10 Zelda game. So that's everything you need.
So Daniel's not a fan.
Yeah.
No, I haven't even played it, but I guarantee you I will not be a fan.
Yeah.
I always
wasn't for me. Last game wasn't for me.
That one
I
I've
was
always
bored out of
liked,
my
though, when
mind.
they're like, hey, I like that. I don't know why. What is that about?
Do what?
When they like, hey.
Are you talking about the Koroks where they're like, hey, and then they give you a little golden piece of poop?
Or if you golden piece of poop.
It's literally what it is. Like that's not even a joke. That really is actually in canon what it is.
Oh shit! Literally all shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's crazy to see that this game has already won Game of the Year. So.
Yep, it already took it.
It had one Game of the Year when it was
Count on that,
announced. It didn't even need to come out.
That's
So
We'll
annoying.
see.
What are you thinking, Dave? You think who are you thinking might challenge them for Game of the Year?
Anything with that? I'm just kidding.
Uh-huh.
No, I just, I mean, yeah, it's going to get high scores, but we'll see. It's a long way before the award shows get here. Plus,
It's
Starfield hasn't come out yet.
To the top if you want the Game of Year. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
No,
knew I'd get a song
somebody
ready.
actually made that. Somebody made that argument. Like, they were like, "Oh, that's one already." I'm like, "Well, we don't know that. Like, sure,
we
it's
don't.
gotta-
So we kind of.
I don't know.
We
I think
kinda-
we
Saying
do.
Hogwarts is one
I'm
already
gonna be that
too, but-
guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
people said
Well,
Hogwarts, but
that's a
then
good
you
point.
have. I still contend Starfield will challenge it, and people keep trying to
Definitely.
write it off.
Yeah,
You got
I
a lot
mean,
of fanboys online. And,
I think if you went to the
if you went to the
horse races,
or something like that. What's that now?
There'll be
Yeah.
a lot of people saying that that Spider-Man 2, that add-on
saw
pack that
that.
they're putting out, that's going to be a game of the year too. Whatever, same old crap.
Yeah, I saw
I
that
mean,
too.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, I will enjoy Spider-Man 2 significantly more. Than
I
that.
will. I will enjoy
Because
it.
it
Oh,
will
oh my
look
God.
like a game
Not even
that was
close.
made this generation and will
Yep.
potentially run at higher than 720p.
You want to
So-
play it through? It'll be awesome. Then you can sell it and trade it in.
I very well might.
Yeah.
But that's everything I got for the news roundup. If you wanted to jump into the main topics here.
All right. So again, shout out to everybody in the chat. I see you, Risky. What's up, Mac Bound, bro? What's up, everybody? If you all
What's up, Mac?
haven't done so already, please give the show a like, and if you see it on my Twitter account, share it out so other people can join in and say hello to us. So yeah, so let me move to the first topic here. Now, let me transition this to, speaking of which, now that I'm thinking about it.
Look at this guy with his gameplay. The game he didn't like. Look at this.
Oh, that's
Unless
game,
this is Daniel. This might be Daniel's. I don't know.
There's no gameplay.
That's game
Although I
of the
did play
year.
as Layla.
that's game of the year right there. What are you talking about?
I
Yeah,
do think
so
the game is genuinely a full point better if you play as Layla.
I did play as Layla, so that's
Really? Okay.
I think the Fro.
Yeah.
I have to try her out.
I think the Fro.
The
made
Fro
better.
did it.
Oh, yeah.
She is definitely the coolest looking character by like a
Yeah.
lot. Like she definitely has got a cool look to
What's
her. Like,
what's that other guy? Jacob, the one with the hoodie on. Is it-
Sniper. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
what
like
I'm
him.
playing
He
as.
looks cool. too.
He
He's
seems
good.
useful. Like his
He's-
Raven
he's
thing
fun.
seems really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Layla can summon her vampire ex-boyfriend, and all of her
That's
power-ups for like in the skill tree, all the power-ups for Jason are named after like old breakup songs, and I love that.
I didn't
really
notice that.
That's great. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Not a
so
good game, but like
I
we
made
find pleasure.
you can find joy in bad games.
I like it.
I got
I've already
tips-
put like
choice.
27 hours into it, so
Oh, wow.
obviously I kind of like it.
Yeah. Put that much into it.
Yep.
You got to enjoy it a bit. I'm about
Yeah.
7 hours in. I got to the second map and everything like that now. So yeah.
Now I know you finished it, Daniel, but did you play solo the whole time?
No, well, I played solo most of the time, but
Okay, gotcha.
I started out in co-op with a friend of mine, and I jumped in with a different friend at a later point. Co-op is honestly fine. I didn't run into any issues with it. In both cases, I played on their save, so none of the stuff carried over for me, which was a little bit of a bummer. But also,
Yeah.
weirdly, I kind of prefer that because I'm very selfish with my games, and I don't necessarily I love my friends; they're great. I don't necessarily want my friends to like mess up my world.
I see what
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I don't play
hear ya,
Minecraft because I don't want anyone to put TNT in my house.
Right. No, that's
TNT
fair
in
enough.
this game
So-
is just simply shooting the window out of a truck and then blowing up everybody. So
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I did
very
have that happen to
simple.
me once.
it's very simple and easy to blow up something in here. But anyway, so let me move on. So as you see, we have Phil in the interview from Kind of Funny. So I thought, let's try to hit that because I felt like, even as I told you guys, Retri and Web Dave, when I was on you guys' show this past week, it felt like we didn't really we only scratched the surface of this interview, right? That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah,
And
I feel like that for
so-
sure.
So I thought let me try to delve in a little deeper, if you will, and see what I can try to come up with, and ask some quality different types of questions to you guys. So, yeah. So we had all types of different interpretations from what Phil said. A lot of them negative.
Yeah.
A lot of them negative, unfortunately. And I don't think it was overall a negative thing. I did have some takeaways that it was somewhat defeatist in some ways, and maybe because of I think maybe his attitude at the moment. Maybe it felt like, oh, you guys, right?
Woe is me.
Whoa,
Yeah.
it's me. But it did feel like
Everyone wants me fired.
he did kind of hint to that.
Yeah,
But I think,
Mhm.
I think because he was just so candid and he was clearly upset that it came off more that way than anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask this first question. I'm going to read a bit of what he said to preface it. He says he's a huge supporter of Arcane and defended the decision to allow them creative freedom to finish Redfall, saying, maybe that means I'll underdeliver for some of our fans out there, but when a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to do Hi-Fi Rush, when everybody probably thought they were doing the Evil Within 3,
Mhm.
I want to give the teams a creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations. And to me, which sounds good to most of us, I imagine, right? That's good. You want to hear people like that say, yeah, let them have their creative freedom, because it's very different in the Microsoft of the past, as we all know.
All right.
But I noticed something in all of those games he listed, and it got me thinking. He named Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and Hi-Fi Rush, right? And to my understanding, fellas, aren't all three of those AA games?
I would argue that Redfall's a AA game too, but yes.
Well,
Redfall,
yeah,
I've
I
always
don't.
said it's a
Well,
AA.
we don't
masquerading.
know what's up
Yeah.
with Hi-Fi Rush. We know they worked on it for 5 years. That we know for sure. So I don't know
Yeah.
how indie Hi-Fi actually was, but the other ones definitely.
No, I think Hi-Fi is not
yeah.
indie or anything. I'm just talking about budget. See,
But
because it always goes to budget.
Well, that's what.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Well,
I
but
don't
it-
know what their budget was, but I mean,
I'm pretty
you
sure
know,
I think
5
that
years
makes
is a
sense.
long time.
It is, but I don't think it crossed the 60 million threshold, because that's the threshold.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Fair
don't we
enough,
know? I might be making this up, so correct me if I'm wrong. But wasn't it like Hi-Fi Rush wasn't being made by the entire Tango GameWorks, right?
They
I thought
weren't,
that was just
right.
like a smaller team that was in there.
That's
So it
correct.
probably took longer just by merits of manpower.
True.
Yeah.
That would explain the 5 years. That's true too. And of course the polish they put on it, because the game is
For sure.
it
Yeah,
runs
that
pretty
game
flawless.
was one of the only ones that launched this game this year and worked.
It's one of the most it's one of the most polished games I've ever seen
Isn't
too.
that
So
something?
it's
Yeah.
like I
It's
was
a shock.
looking for mistakes. I
Yeah.
couldn't find any.
It's
so
a shock to the system, actually, when you got one that
yeah,
works
it really
flawlessly.
was.
And no
I
microtransactions.
did not expect that. I know.
Yeah.
Just a good game like 20 years ago, like we used
What
to
the
get. You
hell?
just get the game, you play it, and that's that. And
Yeah.
it was just like it was a beautiful thing.
Even Zelda had a day one patch apparently.
Did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow.
what everyone's been saying.
Wow. So my question to you guys is, why aren't we seeing this same creative freedom encouraged for AAA new IP by all of their studios rather, from Microsoft?
Yeah.
And I
So
said,
I think
to clarify, by the way,
Yeah.
I've made mention in other spaces and podcasts that I've taken issue with Xbox, like not allowing this creative freedom for other studios, like the Coalition. I think you all heard me say that
Mhm.
maybe this past week.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you know, we had their side projects canceled, and you pointed out it was more than one, I believe, Retri, right?
Yeah, well, that's what we were told. I think from
Yeah.
Jeff Grubb, I believe he said 2 different
Mm.
Coalition games were canceled, and
See.
you know, it's
Yeah,
like
Jeff Grubb
question mark
also-
market. You know, was that the Phoenix collection? Was that who knows?
I don't know.
You know,
if it
to
was
move
the
on
Phoenix.
to
I feel
Gear
like it was
6.
2 new IPs.
I don't
know
think
one
it
of them
is.
was,
I don't
right?
think it. I don't think it's a Phoenix. I do not believe that.
Mm.
I think it was smaller
Yeah.
projects, just kind of like a Project Mara size type of project, like you know,
Yeah.
from
Right.
Ninja Theory. But
Yeah. So, but they had
Yeah,
these canceled
go
in
ahead.
favor of them continuing on with Gear 6. And
Mhm.
that really upset me. I won't lie to you, because I feel like, and I've argued this for
Me
years.
too.
I've argued for years, like, allow some of these quality studios you all have to transition into other creative devices and making new IP. Microsoft has plenty of talent, but we'll never know it because they're kind of stuck and relegated to making the same thing. That's why I was so
Yeah.
happy with Playground Games
Yeah.
getting.
I was just
Fable.
gonna mention Fable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge, you know, turn, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
But I do feel like
I-
that's a safer bet than some of the other ones.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I definitely agree with that. Because you're
For me,
talking 343 and Coalition. I mean, those are your
can't do what they already do.
that's your
good.
Halo, that's your Gears. Those are
Mhm.
your stable games. And
Now,
I don't
speaking of
disagree.
which-
I don't disagree with you at all, Umbra. I would
Yeah.
love to see Coalition or even 343 do something completely different.
Mhm.
Especially Coalition. Gears
Yeah.
for me is getting a little long in the tooth. I'm okay with a long hiatus personally
Mhm.
for Gears, but a lot of people don't feel that way. They want
with
Gears
you.
6 to come out, but I want
I'm
something
with you.
else
Take your-
completely
I'm
from
with you
Coalition.
100%. Take your time. First off, we
Yeah.
don't need Gears that fast. It's the same thing I
Yeah.
argue with the Forza games. It's like, I don't need another Forza
Yeah,
the next
definitely.
year.
Well,
I
when
100% agree
was
with the
Gears
Forza.
5? Because I genuinely
Gears
don't
5
remember.
was
Oh, boy.
2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So it's probably going to be
yeah.
at least, even if
It's
that's the
been a
game they've been
while.
working on the whole time, it's going to be at least like 2025 before we get
Yeah,
that.
by
We're
the
not
time it
gonna
comes
get
out,
next
the
year.
gap will be
yeah.
normal. It'll be
Yeah.
completely normal
Yeah.
gap, but then you take away from them doing something else that is just
Mhm.
weird.
For sure.
That is something else that is AAA. And I'm not talking like do a Hi-Fi Rush or a Grounded side project. I'm talking about a triple A.
Yeah.
Like
Although I
put the
do
same
think-
amount of effort, whole studio into
From
it.
what we had been hearing about those projects the Coalition was working on, is they were smaller projects though.
They were.
Exactly.
They were both.
I
Small
don't know if they would
projects,
have been like
supposedly.
AA, AAA, whatever, but the wording of it was they were smaller, I believe.
But you know what? I would have taken
Yeah.
that for the Coalition, for them to
For
people
sure.
at least
And, you
see
know-
them doing something outside of Gears, because the
it
Coalition
is-
is hampered, in my opinion, just by sticking to one game, and we know that style of game. You know, so let me get to this question though, guys. So, I would have named 343 by the way, but they've harmed
They
any
can't
chance
even-
of being So
Yeah.
they need to. It's kind of like the Arcane situation. Like, oh, we're making a new AAA. Are you? Maybe you
Are you?
need to stick to fixing Redfall. But so
well-
my follow-up question is, with all the studios currently under Xbox, which studio would you guys trust completely, giving free creative reign and a AAA budget to make something that would absolutely make having Xbox worth it? And
I'm all over this.
I'll let you.
I've already
I'll
got
let
my
you go,
answer.
Danny.
Are you talking to do something? Are you talking to creative freedom to do something else?
No, but
like
it has to be
outside of-
the caveat. Shout out to Risk It, is that it has to be a AAA. So I'm going away from that AA
Right.
thought process.
Yeah.
Right.
It has to be the
So-
parameters.
That's
are,
an easy one.
The parameters
Yeah,
are
so-
AAA game, any studio you
Okay.
want. Allow them the creative freedom to give them the AAA budget for whatever game you believe this studio would make that would absolutely be a killer app for the Xbox. And after you, Danny, I want you to go Web Dave. All right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
for it.
So first, I want to address the first question real fast. Is I do feel like, first of all, I agree. I'm very disappointed to hear that the Coalition side projects were at least put on hold. I don't think that they were completely canceled, but put on hold. I think that that's really a bummer. I guess technically we don't know if it's 100% true, but I tend to believe it. So whatever, like that sucks. I do think that it makes more sense for them to do AA games for these more creative, like we're going to take a swing on these sort of things, because less money goes in, even if it's a huge flop like Redfall, then less money lost. You know what I mean? So I do think that makes more sense on like a business side. Just to take it down to brass tacks, it might be kind of a disappointing answer, but I think that is partially what it is.
Well, I'll say this: the parameter is don't even worry about the business side. Think of only of what you know. This team.
Oh
with that
no,
budget,
yeah, I know. I was just saying for the previous question. Like I think that's probably why the ones that we've been seeing them take bigger swings on are smaller games. Although I would argue that at this point, Sea of Thieves is probably AAA. But yeah, so I think there's two teams that I immediately think of where I just completely trust them with everything. I think even if they go completely out of left field, that would be not unusual for them, and that's Obsidian or Double Fine. Either of those two teams, they already consistently do very different games, especially Double Fine, to the point wherein even if they were like, if Double Fine was just like, hey, all of a sudden I want to make a dating sim or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, I bet you can make a really funny dating sim. You know what I mean? Like I completely trust them to get that done. And the same thing with Obsidian. Like they have completely earned my trust over the last couple of years. They hit their deadlines. They do it well. I mean, look at the games that they were even rushed through, right? We look at KOTOR 2. We look at New Vegas. We look at the first South Park Stick of Truth game, right? All three of those, they had to put together. They put New Vegas together in 18 months. And it's the best Fallout game. You know what I mean? I completely trust Obsidian. Give them time, give them money. They will produce every single time. I don't think... I mean... It's hard to put 100% faith in anything when like people said that about Arcane and then they failed, and people said that about Respawn and they've put out a game that's very buggy. So like it's hard to feel 100% confident, but Obsidian is my boy. Like I will get into a street fight for Obsidian right today, right now.
Start thinking of the Street Fighter music. Dun, dun, dun,
I'm in.
dun, dun, dun,
I'll be there punching that car. You can't stop me.
It's funny because I saw AJH. He mentioned he said they're all going to name Obsidian.
Of course.
That was one of mine.
Nope.
That's why I hate going last, but it's fine. I got another one. It's all good.
But
I agree with Danny.
I only want you last
Obsidian
because I know
is-
you're going to give a really solid answer, Retry, if that makes sense.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. I agree with Danny on Obsidian though. Like it's one of the. It's kind of like Playground. It's in the Forza series and everything. Like there's just a crazy amount of trust I have in that studio. And like I've said before, I think in the long run, Obsidian is going to be the studio that everyone looks back on and goes, holy crap, that was the one. That's our Insomniac. Like, I really have absolute faith in that studio. I definitely agree. After
They're the sleeper acquisition.
The Outer World, they are.
100%.
I feel like they're sleeper hit. I think a lot of people are just maybe counting them out. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Not only have they been making quality this whole time while they were, independent and frankly struggling to keep their lights on, but now they've been staffing up. They've got all this budget behind them. I've never been more excited to see what their next games are going to look like.
Yeah, Obsidian's huge now. They're one of the biggest studios they have. They have like just expanded out that studio.
I actually almost had an internship with them before COVID started. I was like in the interview process. Yeah, and then COVID hit and they were like, we're not doing that anymore. So I didn't get to go out there, but it is what it is.
That sucks. Fate is such a terrible thing. No, it's I believe they have close to, if they're not over 300 staffing right now. So they're getting up there, I think.
Yeah, they're getting real big.
That's good, man. I love seeing a success story like that, because you're right. I think they spoke on being in a situation where they didn't know where the next check was coming from at a point.
Yeah.
So that's good to see.
Obsidian is a team that consistently gets hoed. Like, they got hoed on New Vegas. They got hoed on.
Did you say they got hoed?
They got hoed. They got hoed on New Vegas. They got hoed. They got hoed on South Park Stick of Truth. They didn't even get to make the second one. They gave it to Ubisoft, and like that game was still good, but like clearly Obsidian laid the groundwork there for them to just follow the rubric.
It's the same situation.
Yeah, Stick of Truth is amazing. I actually forgot. I'm glad you brought that up, because I completely forgot that they made that.
Right?
Like, they don't seem to miss,
and even KOTOR 2.
Yeah.
Like, they had to cut a lot of content from KOTOR 2, and it's really disappointing because there's been mods that added that back in, and it's genuinely a much better game with that added content. But they were on such a tight time crunch from BioShock at the time, I think, that they had to get it out at a certain time. And so what they put out, very solid game, very good. Not as good as KOTOR 1, but amazing game.
Yeah.
And so like Obsidian just, they hit. Like, they know how to do a job, and they know how to do a job on time.
And will.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah. On budget, on time. Very unusual for Xbox studios.
Yeah.
Well, you know why it is, and I'll take a little bit of Scottish pride here, is the studio head, Fergus Urquhart, is a Scottish man, and we are penny pinchers. Us Scottish guys, we do not spend money we do not need to spend.
For a bigger budget. It's like, I don't know if I can do it.
We don't need it. You guys did fine without it. So why am I going to put more money in this?
He's like, I'm not giving it to ya. No, that was more Irish, I think.
We are frugal and we get shit done. That's what we do.
There we go. What's up, Inferno? I see you in there, brother. Hey, so chat, by the way, since you all are here, let's get interactive. You all post who you all think too. Post who you would give a AAA budget to out of the existing Xbox game studios, and who you would trust to make something that would be a hit in your mind 9 times out of 10 that would draw people to the Xbox platform. And of course, if you all haven't done so, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't also too. You'll see your name pop up on the screen. It's magical. So Web Dave, brother, I want to go to you right now. Same question, of course. AAA, because we're going away from the AA. I'm seeing that trend. And I want to go, the same thing with Pentiment, by the way. I want to throw that out there, passion project. Whereas we can smile knowing that Phil will allow creative freedom when it comes to these things, but it's teams typically in the AA region, which is fair. Which is fair for passion projects, whatever. But I want to change it up. So AAA budget to whatever team currently under Xbox right now to make a quote unquote the hated word we all hate, banger.
Okay. Can I let me answer the first part of your question first?
Sure.
The first part, which is games get put into production that most of them we don't hear about, except for a few leaks, all the time. And probably 70 to 80 or 90% of these projects that get started up to a certain part and semi-developed get canceled. It's just the nature of the beast, because they go into testing and they see where the team is at, and it's like, that's not working, or can we do this and this and this? They give them a little more time, or they're like, no, let's drop this and focus on this. So that happens all the time, every level, from passion projects to big AAA titles. It's just the way the business is.
True.
If they had just said, okay, cool, we're going to start on a Gears of War, if they're just starting on it, like within the last year, it's not going to be for at least 4 or 5 years before we see anything on that, even with the assets they have, because they're going to probably, I'm sure, advance it up and make the graphics look even more. Now, what would I pick as far as a studio that could make a banger AAA?
Yep.
That's the Coalition. And I'm
Mhm.
not. They have so much potential, and they've shown it with their Gears and the stuff they've done with Gears that they can. You just give them another. I mean, I've heard people say it even on Boom Show. They were talking about the Punisher. Can you imagine if that team made a Punisher game? Holy shit, dude! That would be off the chain, off the hook. Awesome, bloody, gory, violent.
Yes.
I could just see something like that.
You
It's
know,
just a wish list. It's a dream title, but
I'll add to that. Like even
Yeah.
outside of, I would like to see them. I almost would like to see them go into something fantasy. Something.
Oh, yeah.
Something away from the typical gun thing. Like I know that the gun play like third person gun. Kings. But I would also almost like to see them do something that's way out of their wheelhouse, almost. Just to flex, to say, look, we
Sure,
can do
man.
this too. You know what I mean?
something with dragons and shit.
Hell
Hell
yeah.
Why not?
Scalebound confirmed by WebDay.
There we go. Coalition,
Getting going,
Scalebound. Heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the only
Metal
one
Sloth
who
is gonna
actually
break
wanted
it in a
Scalebound,
little
I'm pretty
bit.
sure.
I wanted it too, man. I like those.
Okay,
types of
good.
games.
I
Yeah.
thought I was like dragons. It's I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
But everyone
I don't
was
know what's
like,
going
this
on.
looks
Was
stupid.
that your dubstep, man?
Yeah, it was
What-
good.
That was my
Is that
dubstep. Yeah,
After
you
he's
know,
got
he had
the
the
hiccups,
headphones
how much
on. It
for
was
it?
all,
Oh,
it was
beatboxing
all,
sounds like
you
where you're
know,
from.
it was all, yes, it was all exciting. Hey, I used to be a DJ, so that's exactly how it sounds.
Right, yeah.
Yes,
DJ
yes,
Retro.
exactly. Yeah,
Another one.
another
No,
one.
Another one.
Exactly.
No, I'm with you there, man. Like I wouldn't mind a Scalebound. Give it to another quality team. Give it, and it's a lot of Xbox gamers, for whatever weird reason, have this kind of soft hate for a lot of these Japanese made games. I don't know why. Like I'll talk to some and I'll ask them flat out, "Hey, have you played Devil May Cry?" Yeah, it's not really my style.
Oh,
And
it's a great
from
game.
there, I can kind of extrapolate, the style of gamer they are, and they typically are more Western aimed. And I get it, you know what I mean? But like,
They don't
I have love for those types of games still.
Yeah. If they don't like Devil May Cry, you should get them. I don't know what specific friend you're talking about. You should get them into Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance because that is,
Oh, I love
in my
that.
opinion, one of the best character action games. But
I
more
agree.
importantly, like top 10 soundtracks of all time.
It is pretty
Easy.
dope. I had some
Easy.
gameplay capture for that at one point, if you remember.
So good.
Yeah, I actually really do enjoy that. I waited so long to play that, by the way. That was in the 360 era. I didn't play it
Yeah,
until this year.
it's old at this point, but it's
Yeah.
good.
It is good. That would be a nice remake, by the way, now that I think of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Now, Retri.
Somebody money had that quick.
Yeah, yeah. Retri.
Let's scrape together our pennies. Me and Umbra are gonna put it on Stadia.
No, we're gonna talk to that Scottish guy. Talk to that Scottish guy and make sure he penny pinches us.
Fergus Urquhart? Hell yeah, dude.
But Retri, what about you, brother? You seem to have yours in a row. Let's see what you got about you.
Yeah, I like both of those answers are really good. Definitely believe in the Coalition. I've said many times I'd like to see a horror game from them, but and I think Gears is way further into production than I think people realize. I actually think that's been because the side projects I think were side projects and I think they were small. So that means Gears has been going since 2019. So I don't think it's too far off. In my opinion, but I'd pick id Software just after Doom Eternal, which I just thought was just next level, like so good. I'd like to see them step up, either take Halo away from 343, or I'd like to see possibly, as I said this on some other podcast, a Halo Flood horror game by id Software using id Tech because it's amazing. We already know they can do the shooting. We already know they can do the scary. I think it's a great marriage. And if it wasn't id, then I probably would say then have the Coalition make a Halo Flood horror game. But that's what I would like to see. I have a lot of faith in those studios. And honestly, like everyone else's answers were fantastic because I have a lot of faith in Coalition and a lot of faith in Obsidian. So
that's pretty solid, man.
yeah,
Actually, I can see them doing a hell of a job with a game based around the Flood like that. Yeah, that would actually kind of fit right into their wheelhouse a little bit right there.
Right.
That would be dope. Actually, I can see that. I don't know if I would want them to take over for 343 on Halo though, because I wouldn't want
Someone's
them
got to.
stifled. I know, right?
Well, I already know. Like Daniel's doing his video on like
Yeah.
saving
It's
Halo,
recorded.
which is
It's good to go.
oh, awesome. And I know he's probably thinking maybe 343 needs to do something else.
I mean, no
think-
spoilers, but
yeah.
maybe.
Maybe we'll split the audience right down the middle. But look, a lot of people are going to hate you, Daniel, but a lot of people are going to agree with you too, and I think I might
Look,
be
man,
one of them. So I'm just gonna.
Sometimes you gotta make big moves, or you end up standing
that's-
still. You know what I'm saying?
That's absolutely. I cannot wait to see that video. I'm very excited to watch that one.
So I'm
Yeah.
surprised nobody mentioned anybody like, I don't know, In Exile or I don't
Well, I'm not the biggest.
Compulsion or
I'm
Double
not
Fine.
huge on an Exile myself,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think and Compulsion too. Like Compulsion, I think's been a little more miss than hit.
Yeah.
I did like their oh God,
We Happy Few.
can't remember nope, not that one.
Contrast.
That
All contrast.
I did like Contrast.
Yeah.
I liked the concept of Contrast more than I liked the gameplay of it, but I think it was a
That's
pretty
how I feel
dang.
about We Happy
I
Few,
think it was-
actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
agree
it was
with
a.
that
I think
too.
it was a good. I loved like the concept of We Happy Few too. So
Yeah. It's a good idea.
I think it's one of those studios that may surprise us because they have
Yeah.
grown and because now they have a budget and being under Microsoft can make a big difference. They could be one of those coming out of nowhere hits, right? With their if it's gonna be, I think it's supposed to be a cyberpunk game RPG that I think they were making, or at least,
I think
or is that somebody
Compulsions-
else?
I think Compulsions is the one where it's supposed to be like a Louisiana type, like South, like Southern. You know what I mean? Like a witchy monster thing, sort of.
All right, I might
situation.
be thinking In Exile.
it's
I think I'm
between
mixing
them
up
and
In
In
Exile.
Exile.
Yeah,
Yeah,
In
I'm not
Exile's
sure
doing
which
a
one.
cyberpunk one, but
Yeah.
which
That's
that,
what
to,
it
my,
is.
to your point, that's sort of my reasoning for why I didn't put In Exile in there is because from what we've been hearing, they're kind of already doing it. Is apparently they're working on 2 games right now. One that's a more standard CRPG like they're used to, and then one that's going to be more of like a bigger first person, third person, like Fallout 3 style RPG, which I'm actually really looking forward to. So I didn't say them
Me
for that
too,
reason, and I didn't say Compulsion because in my opinion, I think they're still trying to figure out what the thing that they're good at is. So I think they should find that out
Right.
before they start branching off into other things.
Plus, we're talking
That's fair.
AAA, and these guys haven't really haven't proven themselves in that arena, in my opinion. So they're kind of both unproven studios in that regard. I mean, if anyone else was probably left in there, it would probably be that I would probably trust would probably be like Ninja Theory. Like, even though technically they're
Yeah.
unproven for AAA until Hellblade 2 comes out. So,
Mhm.
but all the other guys that we mentioned, in my opinion, have all proven that they can, step up to the plate. I mean, you got Obsidian, you got Coalition, and you got
Yeah.
id Software. All of them have made great games in the AAA space. So everyone else is kind of like question mark.
I'm excited to see what id Software's next game is because I think it's close to being announced.
So
Maybe
with-
not this year, but soon.
That'd
Yeah,
that'd be
I
good
think
to
so,
see what they
too.
have. I know they have Machine Games, but I think they were working on Indiana Jones and such. So no, but
Yeah.
that would be dope. I would imagine giving something to Ninja Theory, who I know is already getting AAA budgets, but I would imagine giving them something a little bit out of their wheelhouse. Well, what is their wheelhouse? They make all types of experimental type stuff, so I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, they're kind of staying in their wheelhouse too, even with their side project, even because it's a psychological horror. And I'm like,
True.
well, it kind of
it seems to be like
already
a
doing the
first-person type
psychological
thing,
stuff.
though, right? For that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see it and
Yeah.
what they can do because it looks like photorealistic type of
does.
thing.
Yeah.
So, but
what engine
well, we'll see.
are they using for that, by the way?
I'd imagine UE5, but that's a
Yeah.
good question. I don't know.
I did
yeah, I
that.
don't
I did that just to hear you say UE5. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. You didn't have to look it up. No.
the best engine.
Yes.
I don't know what engine it is, but it looks the best.
It looks like UE5.
Yeah, so you guys can look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanna throw it
UE5
out
The
there.
Crytek engine.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, Xbox
I'll
International?
live.
What? Hold on. I think, by the way, Xbox International in Espanol. I don't think that's Louis running that. I think
Mhm.
that's our brother Eternal Shaddai, because he mentioned something about me using a Game Pass Genie, something like Game Genie thing on Halo or something like that. At one point, I'm pretty sure that's not Louis.
Sounds like something he would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like something Umbra would have to do because, as we all know, he's not good at
Oh
games.
no, I'm just so good. It feels like I'm cheating. That's all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me move to the second question, fellas. So, Phil, near the end of the near the end of the show, he offered up a few good bits of dialogue, which I say was his most misinterpreted piece of the entire interview. Personally, he says, "We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo." He says there isn't really a great solution or win for us. So he mentions that they're not trying to out-console Sony or Nintendo, which with the current landscape where both of those companies have far bigger market share in consoles, so it makes sense, right? I think we can all agree. But to me, it felt like he was content a little bit in Xbox being in third place, so long as they continue on with their own unique approach for their ecosystem and knowing Game Pass brought in, however many billions in the past quarter or so, that it's doing well enough financially.
Yeah.
So my question to you guys is, did Phil sound a bit defeated here? And if not, what was your takeaway for that?
I don't think he sounded defeated. I think that he was trying to sort of clear up some misconceptions. There's a lot of people, and I think he was directly aiming that at sort of the more media side of it, the kind of funny as the IGNs, because a lot of the time the only metric that they sort of judge success on in the console space is by number of console sales. And I think that his point in that was to point out that, like, first of all, yes, it's not that he's content in third place, but it's that he's not necessarily concerned with beating PlayStation or beating Nintendo. He's more interested in just making Xbox better, right? And I think we've seen specifically with Xbox and Nintendo that they've sort of got not a partnership, but they've got, a friendly conversation where it's like it's less about competition and more about collaboration to a certain extent. Like, we've seen Banjo-Kazooie and going over to Smash Brothers, and we're seeing, all these rumors of Game Pass maybe eventually showing up on Switch and like all this stuff. And so I think that the bigger point that he's trying to make is, like, Xbox can be successful without having to sell 100 million consoles. Obviously, that's something that they would love to do, but their game plan, as we've been seeing for the last however many years, is to expand the idea of what the Xbox ecosystem is. And while the console, and he goes on to say this, or maybe he had already said it before this, I forget the exact order. While the console is the core of that ecosystem and will always be the core of that ecosystem, there's so much more to it, right? He's talking about, trying to reach those, what is it, 2 billion, 3 billion gamers or whatever. And he's trying to, he's trying to hit those, and that's a crazy number, but who's to say? He's trying to hit them not just on console, but also on PC and also on, phones and mobile, and the Asus ROG Ally or whatever that he was saying that he was positive on, right?
Yeah.
And so he's trying to, in this moment, I think he's trying to sort of break the idea specifically on the media side of things, but also in, some of the more fanboy conversations, that success in the console space is this binary of, did you sell X number of consoles? Yes, no, right? Because it's not that, and it hasn't been that in years. Yes, PlayStation and Nintendo both sell a lot of consoles, but I think when we look at them, it's very clear that even those two have wildly different business strategies, right? Yeah. PlayStation is going for these really high budget, top of the line, big games that they can frankly only make like 1 or 2 of a year, and then they have to buy all these smaller games to fill the gaps.
Or make third-party deals, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then Nintendo is doing sort of the exact opposite, where they're making a ton of these little games that appeal to their very specific audience, and that's what they're going for, right? They're not shooting for the high-end console market or whatever the CMA wants to call it. They're going for these sort of more casual, like nostalgia, good feel situations, right? And their plan is like, hey, we're going to combine our mobile and our console experience, and if that means that graphical fidelity and all this stuff sort of go out the window, then that's fine. And like clearly also that's working for them business wise. There are so many different ways to be successful in any situation, right? And I think that what Phil Spencer is trying to say here is that while they are not doing as well in terms of console sales as Xbox or as PlayStation and Nintendo, there are other areas in which they are doing very well. We're seeing Game Pass hit billions of sales, right? Or it making $1 billion in a quarter, right? We're seeing. I think one of the things he brought up is that Minecraft Legends was like the biggest, most selling game on Switch last month or something, which is insane. Like an Xbox game is the #1 selling game on Switch. Of course, it won't be this month, but you know what I mean.
I think he said specifically in Japan too, or it was an Eastern country, but he said somewhere that normally doesn't get a lot of loving from Xbox. So
that
which is
franchise
huge.
for them has been big for them.
Yeah, and like, we sit over here and we're like, oh, well, Minecraft Legends wasn't very good. Its review score was like a 70 something or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's not for us, right?
Mhm.
Like we're grown ass men. I'm the youngest person here, and I'm nearly 30.
Yeah.
Right? We're not that demographic,
Yeah.
right? It's for all these other people.
That
I
makes
was
sense.
gonna try it, but then other games came out, and I
did try it, and I thought it was,
Same.
fine.
Same.
Like I enjoyed it. I think it's very successful at being what it is. It's just that the thing that it is not something I'm interested in.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna throw a wrinkle into it, and I'll go to you, Retri. So it's simple enough to ask, did he sound defeated here? But my bigger point to that was in how he said it. It made it sound like he wasn't looking at it the way he used to look at it. And Xbox in general, I think they've missed this fire, if you will, for a while now, where they don't seem to have that competitive spirit as much as they used to. I don't know if I'm alone in seeing that.
No, you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
I don't.
So let me ask you. So do you?
You're
think,
both alone.
Thank you for confirming that.
Whatever, Dave. Settle down, old man. Settle
Oh,
down.
you wait. You wait, you meddling kids, till I get my turn.
Get off my lawn.
Get
That's
off
what Dave-
my lawn. No, but just in thinking that, like how they used to have this, because somebody pointed out, and I know Charlie Hustle mentioned it on their show, the Backlog Bastards, the other day. And I remember I watched Ryan McCaffrey and the crew on Unlocked. He had an interview with Phil, and he pointed out that Phil flat out told him, I want to win. There was none of this kumbaya. Yes, I mean, the guys over there doing what they're doing, we're doing here. It was none of that. It was, I want to win. And now I understand times have changed, and they can't quite compete in that same way. But it seems like, and it kind of reflects, by the way, how they handle Moneyhatting. It kind of reflects on how aggressive they've been in getting marketing. All these different things, it kind of reflects there too, where they kind of have this passe kind of, well, let's let everybody do their thing instead of aggressively going after or creating aggressive things to pull people to this ecosystem. So do you feel that might be the case, Retro? What's your thoughts on that overall?
I do miss I miss Microsoft cutthroat 360 days. I don't disagree with you. I understand why Xbox is doing what they're doing. Look, for all I know, these guys are just absolute geniuses and knew what they were gonna do many years ago when they started to get all these acquisitions, and they knew they had to play, and I say play because I don't believe they're really necessarily this way. They had to play the nice guy for regulators and whatnot because they knew they were going to walk into situations where people were going to try to stop them from acquiring all these studios. And they're not done. They're not even freaking close, in my opinion. They're nowhere near done. Maybe they were thinking that far ahead where they know they needed to kind of save face and just, we're going to be the everywhere guys. Let's try to, instead of going head to head with PlayStation and making fun of their console or making fun of their games or doing any weird marketing like they used to in the 360 days, maybe they just needed to be the good guys because of all these acquisitions, and they saw something that they might get in trouble with, which was what we're seeing literally right now. Because I think if you ask 9 out of 10 people if the ABK should have gone through, I think they're going to tell you absolutely. It doesn't make any sense why it wouldn't if you understand the gaming market whatsoever. I think Phil, in the whole Starfield 11 out of 10 thing, I think obviously that was taken out of context. I think a lot of people went in the wrong direction with it.
Right.
Obviously, this is about ecosystem. here's the thing. A lot of people are thinking they're second-class citizens on the console side with Xbox, and I 100% can see why they're thinking this, right? There's a lot of push on the PC side.
Yeah.
Even in Game Pass, we're seeing it left and right.
True.
And now you have him going out. He's not wrong in anything he said. Literally nothing he said. I don't think he was wrong in what he said, like factually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it should have been said. I don't think Phil should have kind of gone out, and I think this was kind of a bad PR move.
Yeah.
Even if it's true, I absolutely, I was like, yep. It's hard to make people. It's hard to make people switch off of a console that you've been getting your entire life. That's an uphill battle. You're probably not going to win. You're going to get maybe 4%.
Yeah.
But and then bringing up the fact of we're going to have some bad games. We're going to have some games in the 60s and 70s. That's another mistake. You do not say that. That's PR 101. In my opinion, this was very unlike Phil. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though this thing was recorded, I think in this console race, to satisfy your console guys, you don't say, I don't think we'll ever win in the console race. You say we're going to fight tooth and nail to the end, even if you don't believe it. Even if you don't believe you're going to ever beat PlayStation and Nintendo, you certainly don't tip your hat and say that.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. Make no mistake, that's what he did.
And see, and you hit it right on the head for me, Retri, and that's why, to me, it felt a little defeatist. And by the way, Phil offered it up on his own. They didn't ask him that. He just volunteered that.
He kind of went down that rabbit hole, right? They kind of opened it up a little bit, and he just kind of kept going. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and it's nothing he said was wrong.
Right, exactly.
Everything he said was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
It just shouldn't have been said to the general public, in my opinion. And I mean, I agree with him when he's like 90% of the people, walking into a retailer that have been buying the same, ecosystem for the last 20 years, they're and have their huge digital library on there. It's probably not going to switch over, right? But I don't agree with him when he did talk about Starfield in general being 11 out of 10 and that people won't come over. Maybe not just Starfield, but I think you need a cadence. And I agree with him, but then I disagree with him, right? Like, I agree with him. Starfield ain't it. Starfield's not going to necessarily get like millions upon millions of PlayStation guys to just move over to Xbox, like that. But if Redfall were to hit, and then Starfield hits, and then Forza hits, you need to build the trust that Xbox just doesn't have because they've stepped on way too many rakes over the years. You need to build the trust that PlayStation has garnered and PlayStation has earned. And Xbox needs to hit that cadence. And then over time, I do think you can see a lot of the console sales start to go to Xbox. And I don't expect people to sell their PlayStations. I just expect those people to then buy another console, right?
Or people who didn't buy consoles before and were like in the mobile space or on the PC side. Maybe they're like, oh, well, if I buy these things through Xbox, then I have it on console anyway. Like, I may as well own the console and then play it on my TV or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I can 100% see that being a thing. I think you're completely right, to be fair, right? The 11 out of 10 comment and the bit of talking about the consoles, like, I think that's so very easy to take out of context to the point where I agree. I don't think he should have said it. But I also don't think that's him. I don't think that's him, like,
I don't think it's
defeatist. I think that's him just trying to explain the reality of the situation, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he's being defeatist. I should say. I do want to clarify that. I think the whole thing was defeatist, right? He's in a bad mood. You getting grumpy Phil the whole time. I know what he's saying. Like, our win isn't Xbox. Our win is everywhere. Our win is the cloud. Our win is you can play your game on literally frickin' anything, right? And which is the right strategy. I think, again, Xbox is doing what Xbox has been doing for 20 years. They're way ahead of the curve. And no one can see the forest through the trees because everyone's so goddamn worried about sales for games in a world where Xbox is no longer playing that game anymore. They're not playing that game, and people just can't wrap their heads around the cloud. They can't wrap their heads around about user engagement being the new metric
doesn't even know what the cloud is, it turns out.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think Phil was trying to come off as here's our win, but I don't think it came off
as that
well,
that way.
in my opinion.
And
I
I've
think
said,
that's
and I've
because of the
said that
tone of
before.
voice he had.
I think the tone plays a large part, and that's why I
Yeah,
said
for sure.
Sure.
we were on Xbox Factor this past week, us three, and that was one of the things I said. Like, you can get a lot out of what you say and how you say what you say, right? Because there's a lot
How you
can
say
take
it is
from
almost more important,
Absolutely.
honestly.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, what about you, Dave? What was your takeaway from that? Did you feel he sounded a little defeated? Well, we know he was emotional a bit, right? I think we can all fairly say that. Like,
He was pissed.
He was pissed, you know.
Yeah.
But did you take away from that portion that he sounded a bit defeated, or
Not at all.
or did it encourage?
Absolutely,
Did it encourage you? I guess is a better question.
Just the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite.
Yeah, encouragement. Yes, I think dude. This is the guy that talked Satya into a $68.7 billion deal. Okay, you don't throw that kind of money around thinking we're gonna be happy with number 3. They are in this for the long haul. They're in this for the big fight. After this, they even have another $90 billion cash on hand to spend, and they're not done.
If they could just give me 1% of that, I'll be content.
This deal is gonna go through, dude. It is. This deal is gonna get done, one way or the other. It's going to get done. Maybe longer than we thought, but it's gonna get done. And if for some reason, some crazy thing stops it from happening, do you think they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, we're done. Let's sell Xbox"?
Hell no.
No. Fudge, no. They have so many plan B, plan C, D, G, everything in the works, ready to go right now. And there's a lot of stuff they can't talk about. They can't, because of regulators. They're playing it close to the vest, and they need to do it. They're required to do it. It is smart business. We don't like it because we think that makes them sound like they're just kind of standing back on their hands and being little wussies. They are not. You don't spend that kind of money and come across as, I'm just not really going to do anything. No. I love every single one of you, but I just think everybody took that conversation totally wrong. They just, Phil is, like I said, this man, like you said, the comment about him, I want to be number 1. I want to be the best. I want to be. They do, and they are going to prove it. And now that he's got Satya on his side, he is. I mean, the man knows how to make money, and that's why he's in the position that he's in. And he sees Phil's vision, and they know that in the long run, console sales may eventually improve. Cool. If they don't, it really doesn't matter. Get them in the ecosystem.
Let me
3 billion, players going to be in there in Game Pass, and that is going to be where they're going to make their most money, and that's where they're going to make their dominance. That is why Sony absolutely does not want anything good like Call of Duty in Game Pass, because they know it's absolutely going to destroy their money-making machine.
It's curtains. It's curtains. So let me ask you now. So we got the idea of that, and I guess that makes some sense, right? Like that they don't make those moves if they want to stay content in being third. But outside of those actions, do you all feel that? And I want to get this quickly because we got to move on to this last question of this, and I'm going to move to the next topic. But do you feel that this needs to be conveyed to the audience and into the world? Because it seems
I think that's what the June show is.
Wait till June, baby.
I genuinely, I think that's
wait till June.
I think
baby,
that
it's going to be big.
Yeah.
It's going to be
genuinely,
big.
One month from now.
I've heard.
It's exactly 1 month from today. I genuinely, I think that it's gonna sound so stupid. I think that it's gonna be one of those situations from like an 80s rom-com or whatever, where he came out and he was bad and he was defeated, and he should be, because he was in a really bad way. And I think he's gonna come out, he's gonna start the showcase like he does pretty much every year, and it's gonna be like that scene where girl takes her glasses off, lets her hair down. And he's like, by the way, actually, we got a lot of stuff going on, right? I do think that there's, I do think, just to sidetrack for a quick second here, I do think that there are a lot of people who are putting so much expectations on this show, And I think that that's really unrealistic. I think that, it's the situation where, because that 11 out of 10 comment, some people have pointed out is nearly word for word what Ryan McCaffrey was saying it Starfield needed to be on the Xbox Unlocked or whatever. That was like the day before or 2 days before, when he was just going completely off on Xbox. And so I think there's part of it where, like, Phil Spencer knows that, like, the Xbox business is actually, like, if you look at the numbers of the Xbox business, it's doing very well. Right? Like, it was down this quarter only by merits of the fact that the quarter it was being compared to was their best one ever. You know what I mean? Like, this quarter was down. Like, it was still their second best quarter of all time. Right.
Yeah, Daniel, on that point, I do want to reiterate that. Like, you're talking about, like, record-breaking numbers. Like, you can only go down. You can only go down, right? Like, you're not going to beat like your all-time best either. So there is.
I think they can.
Well, you know what
I
I'm
think
saying.
they will,
like,
but you're not necessarily going to do that every time, and it's not necessarily
exactly
like if you pitch a no-hitter one year and then the next year, you don't make it to the playoffs. That doesn't mean you're a bad pitcher. You know what I mean?
It's the same thing with Redfall. Just because that's why I kept saying, guys, it's one game. Like, there's all these other great games that are coming out. Like, my faith in these guys is not wavering. Maybe in some of the people, but certainly not in Phil.
Management wise, it's wavered a bit, because I don't understand how they allowed that for Halo and then this.
Right.
And then
I think
we didn't see it until the last second. It's like, that doesn't inspire faith in your management. If you didn't see this until now, like, that's a bad omen to me. Same thing with Halo. I think
most of those problems have been fixed. I really do.
I
think you guys have nothing to worry about.
I don't know just yet.
Forge ahead,
I'll
baby.
say that
we'll see.
His attitude on it made me seem, to me, that's what the silver lining I took away from it, in that I felt that the way he was presenting was like, I'm not going to allow that to happen again. So that's the silver lining I took from it.
That's the way he was saying it, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's very much that thing where I think right now, and you could argue it's the biggest issue, but I think the only issue that the Xbox platform has is a lack of consistent games. And I think, I know people are very tired of, people saying, like, just look at what's coming, right? Like, look at what the next couple years of games is.
Yeah, right.
But to be fair, I think that's what literally everyone is saying, because, like, I think we're always looking forward to things, but whatever. Like, RIP anyone who's a Marvel fan, and those movies are announced like 6 years in advance, but whatever. Who's to say? Anyway, but, like, you look at all the games that are announced, and you're like, how are you thinking that, like, this is the end of Xbox? It's like, they're just going to cancel all these projects. They're going to stop doing all these things. And it's like, I totally understand the emotion of being down on Xbox right now. I totally get that.
Yeah.
My only issue is when people all of a sudden are like, well, see, I work at Denny's, so I'm a really great businessman. And what I can say is Xbox is doomed and Microsoft is totally going to sell them off. And it's like, no, like...
Yeah, they're going third party.
Hey guys,
like, what?
Yeah,
hey guys, shocker. Companies
Hey
have
man,
problems.
nothing beats a Denny's Grand Slam.
I agree.
Man.
That's true.
Shocker.
That's true.
Companies have problems. Xbox has a, honestly, comparatively, a pretty small problem right now. They had a big problem in 2013. PlayStation had a really big problem at the launch of the PlayStation 3. Nintendo had a really big problem at the launch of the Wii U. Like, it's gonna come full circle. Like, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, yeah, this really sucks for Xbox right now. But I'm also fully aware that, like, at some point, PlayStation's going to make a huge mistake again. And Nintendo's going to make a big mistake again. And guess what? Xbox is going to make a big mistake again. Because that's what happens. People take a lot of shots.
Going to happen.
From what I take from this is, the Xbox shall rise again. That's what I'm getting from you.
Man.
I guess.
From the East.
Wait a minute. It's that time, man. We need to hear from King, don't you think?
Oh, you guys are in my DM. King, what will we do? We will hold the line.
On the line.
It's not even that necessarily. Like, to be fair, because I know that, I'm on the Xbox Factor podcast, so probably the assumption is like, oh, you're just an Xbox fanboy. And, like, I do prefer my Xbox, but I got no skin in this race, genuinely. Like, Phil Spencer's bank account is not my bank account. You know what I mean? If Xbox starts failing, that's fine. Like, I also play games on my PlayStation. I also play games on my Switch. Not as often, but I do. Like, as long as gaming still exists, I'm fine. And I think that that's the separation that allows me to see a little bit more clearly at these things, because there are some people, like I posted a tweet a couple days ago where I was talking about the Pixel Opus studio getting shut down. I was like, I don't like this. And people were like coming at me en masse. It was like one of my most popular tweets, ironically, where people were just like coming at me because they were like, you're just an Xbox, and like it would just immediately like jump to all these things.
You
and I was like, let's examine
Sony
this.
You're an Xbox guy. That's all it takes, brother.
Yeah, and I was like, let's examine this. You are defending real human beings losing their jobs, and your only concern is that it might make PlayStation look bad.
Exactly.
Like I think that there's some people who just have they tie like this console race so closely to their personality and like who they are,
self-identity,
like their personal identity, and it's like I just cannot imagine being that way.
It's pretty.
Yeah, they need to go live.
Don't
That's for
get it.
sure.
It's just like sports. It's a same. It's a same thing.
That's a fair
it's
point.
very much like
It
sports.
is you're right. It is like that. Yeah. A lot of people that I've seen, like, you don't see this in this. Yes, you do. You see it from phones, from iPhone and Android to everything else. It's the same mentality. It's very weird, and people need to get out of that.
Don't you talk about my iPhone?
Don't you do
You know
it?
how many people have given me guff because I sent them a text and they're like, "Why's your bubble green?"
Man,
and I'll be like, "Because I like good phones."
Exactly. Yeah, they always kill me with that. Oh, you got a green bubble? I'm like, yeah, I got a better phone than you. What, you got an Android? I have a Galaxy S21 Ultra. Yes, 5G, and I can move up to the 23 if I want it. Yeah, it's better than what you have. That much is certain. Yeah,
Not what I have.
Don't look down on me. It's your little iPhone. My camera is better than yours too.
I got a Windows phone. 1978.
Oh man, you got the classic, huh?
Original flip phone from Motorola.
Indestructible.
Nokia. Yeah.
Throw it at somebody's head and break it.
It's literally a weapon, right?
Weapon of small mass destruction. So, final question on this, fellas, and I want to kind of get through this somewhat quick so we can move to the next one.
Sure.
And quality answers, by the way, from all of you all on all of these topics here. So, Phil's last, the one I phoned in on, I suppose, or just honed in on, was he says, I know this will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter that when you're in third place in the console market and the top two players are as strong as they are, and have in certain cases a very discreet focus on doing deals and other things that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team, that's on us, not everybody else. And he says, I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything will turn around, he said. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way. Now, this chunk of dialogue right here rubbed a lot of people wrong, as you all probably saw.
Yeah.
Because they're stupid.
Yeah, well, I kind of get it too, to be fair.
I can see it from both sides.
Yeah, I see both sides of it, and I'll say why. So, one thing that caught me on this was, and it kind of had me confused, because Phil, he was saying Sony and Nintendo were so strong in making deals that made it hard for the Xbox team as it relates to getting games on the platform. But then I had to think, well, you're Microsoft, the true trillion plus, backed company right there behind you. You're capable of opening that 90 billion you said, Web Dave, if I'm not mistaken.
That's 9 billion left. That's correct, sir, in cash.
You're capable of opening that war chest and money-heading major AAA exclusives and everything else that you're just mentioning that these other teams making hard for you from Sony and Nintendo. So when I heard that, I was kind of like, yeah, but you can outbid them any day of the week.
Yeah, right.
Twice over, three times over if you wanted to. So my question to you all is, why do you feel better yet? Did it make you question that Xbox wasn't being as aggressive as the competition? And in that chunk of dialogue, by the way, he said just building great games wouldn't turn things around or see a console share shift in any major way. So my question also to you all is,
we did kind of talk about that point, but
do you accept that the premise, or do you accept that premise, or do you believe Xbox consistently making great AAA games would help turn things around and gain them market share? Retri, I'll start with you, then Web Dave, then we'll go to you, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, quick answer. I absolutely, like Phil's saying, I think he really was talking short term, and I agree with him. So this is why I agree with him, and then disagree with kind of like the sentiment. I agree with him. Like Starfield is not going to turn turn the ship around right away and not in a quick succession whatsoever. But I think over time, I think a lot of great games can absolutely change your numbers on consoles. If that's what you give a crap about, but we know Xbox doesn't, right? But the fanboys do. So yeah, I think it can absolutely help. I mean, obviously, it certainly is not going to hinder them.
Yeah.
So, but do I think it's going to change night and day, like within in a year? Absolutely not. That's just kind of like common sense, I think, like business wise. If you've ever run a business, like, and whatever you think's going to happen, like usually in a year, you usually have to double, triple, or quadruple how long it's actually going to take to reflect your bottom dollar. So yeah, you know, it's one of those things where like, yep, I agree, like it makes sense, but maybe shouldn't have said it, like, because you want that cheerleading squad. You know, unfortunately, you want those guys on Twitter to go, yeah, he said we're gonna go cut throats, let's go. Like that's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear kind of the defeatist attitude and losing even the console war, call it a war battle, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
So
and that's kind of what I was touching
but he's right.
on in the last topic, is that that's why I felt it felt a little defeatist, because that attitude of competition, it seems to be kind of more kumbaya now. And I know I'm not alone in thinking that, because
I think it has to be. I think it has to be because of the acquisitions. I think, like, you know, like the proof is in the pudding, right? Like it is weird for us to ignore the fact that, like Dave was saying, like they're spending all this ridiculous amount of money, and I'm not blind. I can see that clear as day. You know, them being their version of being the gorilla in the room is buying everybody, and that I'd rather have them do that. I'm all for that. But at the same time, we've talked about them being able to chew their walk and chew their gum at the same time. I want them to go after as many studios as they want, because it saves money in my pocket, and I'm a greedy gamer like you, Umbra. And I want them to money hat everything under the damn sun. I don't care. Like I want both. They can do both. They have the money to do both. So Phil has said that was on them. You listen to the words he said. He said we are allowing Nintendo and Sony to do and take away and do all these. Basically, he was saying that we're allowing them to money hat stuff without him saying they are money hatting stuff. That's what he was saying, no doubt. He was saying they were money hatting stuff, and he said that's on us, meaning we're not meaning my number one issue with Phil from day one has been go spend some effing money on third-party stuff and start money hatting just like the competition does, because it works for them, so it can work for us. Let's go.
Well, maybe he meant that's because now they're changing.
That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're right.
That's definitely a possibility.
I mean, he usually, because that's not the take that Phil usually does. He usually goes down the route of I want to own our own IP, which is complete BS when they're doing the Indiana Jones thing. It makes no sense, right? So
I mean,
that was already in the works before they bought them. So that's
okay, all right, fair enough. But still,
although if it's successful, I guarantee they'll still do a second one.
Oh yeah,
so,
right.
To be fair,
but we'll be leading into that. By the way, that's the zeitgeist of the name of this.
Hopefully they are changing. Hopefully they are changing that mindset. But this is the interview that we have to go off of and cross our fingers and hope that's what he's doing. Do I have faith that they can do that? Absolutely. Do I think they want to do that? You bet your ass they do. They don't want to play this nice guy crap. They don't want to do that. They would love to go back to back in the day when they were cutthroat. But I think they're just trying to stay nice for regulators. As soon as this crap's done with ABK, I think Xbox is going to start just gobbling up everyone and cut throats left and right. That's what I think they're going to do.
I would hope so. Something kind of makes me feel like they're going to still be kind of passe when it comes to that.
Yeah, they could be. They could be. I hope not. I hope not, but we'll see.
I'm with you on that. But before we go to you, Danny, I still want to get Web Dave's take on it. And so I'll repeat it to you.
Sorry, real fast though. Is Retri's audio bad for anybody else, or is that on my end?
Am I cutting out for you, Earl?
No, you sound
fine.
But
he sounds okay.
It might be on my end.
Yeah,
okay.
Good.
Sorry, you started sounding like.
How about now, baby?
Oh, he was cooking. That's all. It made your head. Your drums mess up because he was just cooking.
Okay.
Yeah, but
it was probably on my end.
Yeah, I think it sounds. Chat, does everybody sound fine to you? Is that everything coming through loud and clear? And
check 1 2.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. And by the way, if you all haven't yet, make sure you hit the like button. and praise us as we deserve praise. No, I'm joking.
Hit that subscribe button.
Leave a comment. Tell us how cool we are.
Praise us.
Yes, and if you all hit the subscribe again, your name will pop up on the screen. It's a little, little ode to you all, as you know.
Yeah, and every time we get a new subscriber,
Absolutely.
Umbra has to sing a song.
There you go. Long ago.
Call your mom in the room. Tell her how cool we are.
Exactly. Mom, check these guys out. Mom, come look.
They're so cool.
So, Dave, the same question to you, brother.
Yes, sir.
And it really is around that premise of, do you accept what he said there, basically on, kind of woe is us. They're making it hard for us. We can't really compete in that way. That's kind of what it came off as. And I'm saying this to say, do you accept that, or do you believe, by the way, making great AAA games consistently on the same pace or more as a PlayStation is their counterpart, if you will. Do you think that would help turn the tide? Because people, they kind of roll with that. Well, just making great games, he's right. It's not going to do that. Sure, not alone, but making great games absolutely will help bring people to your platform. Consistently making great AAA games will help turn the tide. I think we can all agree there logically. So what is your take there overall? Do you agree with what he's saying there? Do you accept his premise?
Okay.
And do you believe
Say
that?
the very first part again, but then nothing else. The very first line of your question. I mean it. Say it, and then stop.
The very first question is do you believe that, or why better yet, is Xbox not competing as aggressively as the competition? That's really the first question.
It wasn't how you worded it, but that's okay.
That's the first question.
No. I mean of this current one. But but my point is that I didn't take it that way at all. The way you guys or you're saying it, the fetus, the whole. I didn't take it that. To me, he was explaining that right now, our competition is playing dirty, and they're playing dirty hard, and meaning Sony. They're doing the Moneyhatting, they're doing the pay projects to where don't put your we're the market leader. You want us to do the marketing campaign with you? You want us to promote your game? It doesn't go on Game Pass. It's in contract. Sign it. Shut up. And that's it. And that's seriously, that's the way. That's how.
What if they told them to shut up after they gave them the contract? Here,
shut your damn mouth.
But I'm not so sure that they don't. I'm not so sure they don't because they have such a big attitude. Okay, but the point is that's basically, to me, that's the way he was coming across, is that look, this is what we've been up against, and that's the way I took it. Not as in like woe is us. No, I don't see it that way. That's maybe it's just me. Okay, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. My opinion is that Phil's ready to play ball, and he's ready for it. And I think that the meaning that what he was saying is what Retry said. Retry, you were right on the spot. It is not going to be a 1 year or a 6 month fix and everything's going to turn around and flip the switch. That's not going to happen. Starfield comes out, the tide's not going to just sit there and shift and Microsoft is number one. That's not going to happen. But it's the right direction, and it's the way Microsoft is going to continue to go and grow the company and especially with Game Pass, all these great titles start coming into Game Pass, these big AAA titles, these big companies that they're buying, and they're not done. They're going to buy more. They're going to buy Japanese companies, and they're going to be able to buy those a lot easier, especially because, like, for example, Sega is like, they could probably have them for like $8 billion. It sounds like a lot of money, but it should be under regulators. Yeah, but it's not going to cause any. But you look at they bought the Sony spent over $3 billion. Exactly what you mean. Over $3 billion for Bungie, and nobody even flicked the switch, and and then a month later, it's done and it's theirs. That's the kind of thing they need to go after next. They're going to go after a lot of the smaller companies. They're going to go after these independent studios. I believe that they are working with now, so they don't get gobbled up and taken away from them. I believe that that's something that they're going to do, and that's things they can do. These deals that they're talking about with the guy from Tecmo, I believe it is, that one of those
Tomonobu Itagaki.
Yes, that guy. I mean, in working out and same way with what they've done with Kojima, making those kind of deals. I think that because they don't want to be owned, they don't want to be bought. They want to but hey, look, we're gonna pay you an ungodly amount of money for you to make the game that you want to make, but you're going to make it on our platform. And I believe that is the way that they are probably going to work things out in the future, because they're going to give them the revenue. Because Kojima, for a little while, as great a designer and developer that he was, or is, I should say, Konami gave him kind of a bad taste in everybody's mouth, thinking, "Ooh, this guy's hard to work with, or guy's hard to work for." And Sony was like, "We'll give him a chance." And that and they made what is the greatest UPS game ever made.
Oh.
But it is still a good game. It's weird, it's quirky, but it looks amazing and it's fun to play.
I was told that it takes 5 hours before that game clicks with you, and if any game takes that damn long, I
rolled credits and it didn't click. I don't know who told you 5 hours.
Not for everybody.
I genuinely think I'm one of the only people on the planet who's rolled credit on that thing.
Damn.
But that's my point.
That's
good
thoughts. Good thoughts, Web.
Thanks, man.
So listen, I do want to kind of get through this quick, Danny. So I want to let you get your point so we can move to the next one. I just want to address one thing. So Doovie says what he said was people won't sell their PlayStation just to have an Xbox, which is true. Everyone thinking he gave up on this gen. No, I agree there. But the point I was trying to make, Doovie, is that it doesn't have to be an either or. You can do both.
Right.
So I can.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have to have you give up PlayStation, but I definitely want those people who don't have an Xbox to pick up an Xbox, and that's my point of contention with it. It shouldn't be that we expect you to give up on any other platform. No, I don't. But add us to that list. Add us to something that you have to have. You know what I mean? That's what I want Xbox to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You already got Netflix, but they got to make a pitch for why you need to get
Hulu or something.
I don't know,
exactly,
HBO or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And to your point, and I'll trying to be fast on this. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that I think I'm a little bit more on Dave's side on this one. I think it's I didn't get it as like defeated. I got it as like mad. You know what I mean? And I think that the takeaway for me on this was like, okay, yes, he shouldn't have said the thing about like quality games aren't gonna turn the thing around, even though he did spend literally the rest of the 30 minutes of that interview saying that they're going to do more quality games, and that was the most important thing to them the entire time. That one sound like voice clip has been shared around so much.
Yep.
And it's really stupid because it's the same thing as like articles where people just read the title and they don't even bother reading the thing.
Bingo.
Because people are dumb. People are dumb and they don't know they're illiterate, and that's just kind of what it is. People need that quick fix of like hate and or love, and then they move on. They don't care about how or where or why or any of that information is coming from, and that's a real bummer. I do agree, obviously, and I think everyone does, and I even think Phil does, that once they start getting those consistent games out, which they will, once they start getting those consistent games out, that will make a difference. It's not necessarily going to make a difference of there will be less people buying PlayStations and making the choice to buy an Xbox instead. I think that it's more the case that the gaming industry as a whole is going to continue to grow. That was always sort of Phil Spencer's motto going into basically since he took over, was Xbox can get bigger without making PlayStation smaller, right? Whereas PlayStation, and this is to the point also what he was saying about PlayStation making things hard for them, PlayStation's motto seems to be that they will grow by taking from Xbox, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where I sort of push back on the premise of this question. Not that it's wrong or anything, but I think that there's a lot of people who are saying Xbox needs to be more aggressive. They need to money hat more games. They are attempting to buy a second publisher. Mm-hmm. They have money hatted plenty of games.
Oh, like, yes.
I know that money hatting is maybe not the term that we use to describe that.
Call
but the
of
difference,
Duty, money
the
hatting.
between, the difference between PlayStation's move here and Xbox's move here is that PlayStation is spending tons and tons of money to get 30% of those game sales, and Xbox is spending tons and tons and tons of money to get 100% of those game sales. And I think that's the difference of mentality that they have, because Xbox does have all that more money, right? We're going to talk about it later with these, other games that they've been money hatting. But the reason that PlayStation keeps doing this is because their focus on making a very small number of very big games means that they literally need to buy things to fill that gap, because 2 games a year, no matter how good, is not going to keep people on your platform, especially if Nintendo's out here doing whatever voodoo magic they've got making people buy Switches, and Xbox has this really great deal in Game Pass. They have to make that argument for video games, right? They have to be like, we have this, we have that, we have this. And I think that's also why we're seeing them buying up a lot of remakes, right? Because those are surefire hits. Those are games that have already been successful and already have fan bases that want to see what that game is going to be this new time, right?
Yeah.
And so PlayStation is making these deals because they have to. And is it working? Absolutely. PlayStation makes very good business decisions. I hate Jim Ryan. I think he's an idiot, and I think he is extremely dumb in making some terrible business decisions. But PlayStation as a whole has been making a lot of very successful moves and making a ton of money. There's no arguing with it. They are a highly successful company. They didn't get to the top of the games industry by losing, right?
That's facts.
So,
yeah.
Right. So that's why they are
typically win. That is correct. You're right.
Exactly. Right. And so that's why they are where they are. But I think that it is narrow-minded to say that Xbox is not playing aggressively when they have bought ZeniMax and they are in the attempts to buy Activision, and like, yes, that's going wrong. And you know, whether or not that falls apart, I think pretty shortly after that is done, we're gonna, to Dave's point, I think we're immediately gonna start seeing them buying up those smaller studios and doing those things, because they're not building an ecosystem where they're focused on individual game sales. They need people in the ecosystem of Game Pass, right? They need to deliver consistent content that people want to play, and it's much easier if you own that content, right? Now, someone is very excited outside in their hoopty right now. I don't know if you can hear that.
I heard him.
I assume you can. It's quite loud. But like
that was Boom. He said he had a hoopty the other day. That was him going by.
He did say that. He did say that. That was awesome.
Oh man. But yeah, so they are buying up all of these studios because they need that constant pipeline of content to keep people in their ecosystem, right? It's just a different business practice. And I think once they hit a point where they are able to get that consistent game, like that consistent games platform out, or whatever you want to call it, like having games that coming out consistently, and they like, once they're good on their front, then I think we will see them doing the PlayStation version of Moneyhatting thing, where they were just buying time exclusivity or buying exclusivity on individual games. Because it's the same situation as like when a plane hits turbulence, right? They pull the mask down, and it says, put the mask on yourself before you go and you put it on anybody else, because you got to fix this
because you're gonna get high.
Because like, you've got to get air in your lungs if you're going to try and go and help these other people, right? And it's kind of the same principle, where it's like, once they have the content pipeline for themselves to fit the ecosystem that they are trying to make, then once that's done, falls in a different court. We can move and do different things, and we can, start buying all these other situations. Because if you look at it, Xbox has literally bought ZeniMax and is trying to buy Activision, right? Whereas PlayStation has figuratively bought Square and is now figuratively buying Konami, to segue into our next topic.
Yeah. And speaking of Konami, and here you all can see the Silent Hill 2 remake, that leads us to, and this will probably have to, not probably, it'll have to be our last topic of the day. We'll kind of quickly go over the Starfield thing with the
quick, Riffy, talk about sex on Jetpack.
Jetpack Sex.
It's great. It's gonna be great, guys. It's gonna be great. I promise you.
Can't wait.
And 60 frames per second of Jetpack Sex. You're welcome.
Girl, I'm gonna fly you up to the moon.
Oh, now you gotta sing that.
Fly me to the moon. Let me play with your body. Let me stop. The Zeitgeist. So that leads us to one of the main topics here, the Zeitgeist. Right. And we kind of touched on a lot of this really with the past topics in a way. The Zeitgeist, the definition for Zeitgeist is the defining spirit or mood of a particular period of time or history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of that time. So as an example of this, the World Wide Web, right? Yes, the internet. It launched in the 90s. Not only did it help define that era, but it changed the world. That's a Zeitgeist thing. It's something that helped define the 90s, right? In gaming talk, we'd use that summarily to point to games that helped define a generation or a console. So that's what we mean when you hear anybody saying the Zeitgeist. It's monumental, big-time games that are like iconic, that are going to help shift things. Mindshare, for instance, right? Something like Silent Hill 2 here, a remake, which is a beloved franchise, a beloved game. Now, I don't care for Silent Hill 2 as much. It's like, I gotta play this, but I understand its relevance. Same thing with several other games I'm going to mention here. We had a situation now that we know. Let me transition. since it's popping up. Why not? Spider-Man 2 here. It's a Zeitgeist game. That's a Zeitgeist franchise right there. Spider-Man is well known worldwide, and it's something that we've complained about many times at Microsoft. We need them to kind of get into that Zeitgeist movement. So we now have plausible rumors pointing to Sony having money-headed exclusivity for 2 other iconic IP from Konami beside the confirmed Silent Hill 2 remake, which includes Metal Gear Solid 3 remake and a Castlevania reboot per our good brothers Jazz Corden and Special Nick. Jazz confirmed both. Special Nick just confirmed Metal Gear Solid 3, to be clear. Add to this the Final Fantasy games, seemingly being de facto first party with the Final Fantasy remake and 16, along with their own critically acclaimed and commercially successful first party titles such as Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, and upcoming Spider-Man 2 here for Sony. And you can see how they've positioned themselves to dominate the gaming zeitgeist for this generation already. Predominantly being an Xbox fan like myself, I can't help but wonder how this will only further that gap of mind share and market share between the two. But it makes me question, how can this continue to happen under Xbox team's nose? And then we kind of touched on it again in the past topics. We kind of alluded to that. So my question to you guys, and we got to kind of keep this kind of concise, is do you think Microsoft is purposely trying to appear meek in their approach to try and appease regulators by not being as aggressive in money-heading major AAA iconic IP? And I'll ask the second one after you answer the first. So I'm going to let, because the second one is kind of different. So I'm going to start with Dave on this one, and then we'll move to you, Retri, then to you, Danny.
Sure.
So Dave, do you think Microsoft is purposely trying to appear meek in their approach here, and not to appease regulators, I suppose, and also money-heading these major iconic IP? Do you think they're kind of trying to fall back a bit as not to make themselves look like the wolf, I suppose?
I mean, there's probably something to the point to where they don't want to look like they are manipulating the market and dominating the industry and doing bad things and being the but I just think that they have a different plan. They have a different mindset, because their ultimate goal is to grow the ecosystem of Game Pass, which will, in the future, as things keep growing, will be probably the most successful way you play games in the industry in the next 10 years. I think there'll be more people in Game Pass than any other entertainment field that there is, and because gaming entertainment is more as a viable entertainment source is a bigger money maker than movies or TV. And I have a feeling that this is what the big picture is in the long run. Would it be nice if they money-headed some things coming out? Sure. I mean, it would be great. I'd love for them to come out on stage and be like, that's an exclusive for, for however long. That'd be great. That'd be great. Premiere. But exactly. But it'd be nice if they had the I guess the marketing rights for more games would probably be a better way for them to do it, because at least if they did that, they could at least, because when Hogwarts Legacy came out,
so
right, and Hogwarts Legacy came out, even though there is a 1-year exclusive on that one shop that's in the game, they put their marketing up at the beginning of the year, and they had like their Spider-Man coming and whatever else, the God of War coming, and then they had Hogwarts up there, and people were like, "Oh, that's great, great, glad Sony's making that." But what? It's coming on everything. Oh, I thought that was an exclusive to Sony, because that's the impression that they leave you with, and that's what I think Microsoft can probably do that a little more. But I think they are going to, and I think you're going to see some of that at the showcase.
I hope so, brother. I hope so. So my second question to you on this is, now that you're tasked now with combating this as the new head of Xbox with the full support of Microsoft. What plans do you immediately put into place to ensure you and your consumers are not left behind with these Zeitgeist games?
Oh, by Sony.
Yeah, just
I'm
cut 'em
sorry,
off-
was that
cut 'em
too
off
aggressive?
with
Because you can
these.
easily do it.
Too aggressive. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, look,
Not wrong.
if it works, it
but
works.
you know, but no, I mean, you know, it's just more of the same. Like I said, once I just know that once we get through this deal, then we do what I talked about earlier, which is, you know, buy up a smaller team. At least they need to go after one, you know, big company, whether it's, you know, some of these companies, you know, may not be for sale or may not, you know, want to be purchased. But if it is, even though some people say they don't want it, Square Enix would be great if if Xbox owned them. You know, and you're talking about, well, they have this and they have Moneyhatting and they have just certain deals with this. You know, I'm sure they do. But almost every other game at one point, the exception of 14 and 7 and now 16, has not been on the Xbox ecosystem. But you know, that's as far as the Final Fantasy franchise goes. But they also have Kingdom Hearts franchise. They have the number one franchise for Square in Japan is Dragon Quest. It's so much bigger in Japan than Final Fantasy is. Final
What's
Fantasy
bigger,
is
by
actually
the
more
way? What's bigger, Dragon Quest or Monster Hunter World?
Probably Dragon Quest.
Wow.
Dragon Quest,
Dragon
and it's an urban legend, but Dragon Quest is so big in Japan that there was
It's
a
true.
rumor that
Oh, that's true.
the government had asked Square Enix to to only release Dragon Quest games on weekends so that people would
Yep.
stop not going to work.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yes,
Yeah, I
because
mean, it's
there
an
had
urban
so
legend,
many people.
but-
You know, it was like 80% of the market on a Tuesday or whatever day the original release they came out with. They would not go to work because they'd be home playing their game. It
Mhm.
was that crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, the workflow was
Dragon
down.
Quest is huge.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that is actually there is more stories to that. It's not. It's beyond urban legend. Just do a little more research on that, Daniel, and you'll see
Yeah.
that it's actually the truth.
So
Look,
for
all
you,
I know is I said it one time in a video and everyone got mad at me.
No, it is the truth. You speak
That's
the
my
truth. They
level
just
of
didn't know what the hell you were talking
they're
about.
like, shut up, Xbot. Yeah. So
Yeah.
That is true.
so for you, Dave, your solution is buy the competition out.
No, well, I mean, well, I think they just need the like you were alluding to before. I think it was Retri that said this that you know, it's like money hatting is one thing, you know, that Sony's good at, but you know, Microsoft needs to you know,
Money on.
buy the
No money hat, money on it.
exactly. They really do, and that's you know, and not everything. I mean, obviously, there's going to be, you know, companies that EA and companies like that are pretty much
Take-Two,
too
right.
big. Exactly, too
Yeah.
big to own. But man, it'd be great if you had at least the marketing rights to you know,
Mm-hmm.
to GTA 6.
Imagine them buying Capcom, as I always keep pointing
That'd be
to, by
huge.
the way.
Yep.
It'd be a great buy.
I would
I
love
just don't know-
Capcom.
Yeah.
I just don't know that they would want to sell
Mhm.
as successful as they are now. But as far as if they were willing to sit down to the table and negotiate a godly amount of money, you know, sure.
Yeah.
But yes, that'd be a great purchase.
If it wasn't for regulators, Microsoft would be unstoppable right now as far as the gaming. goes.
If,
Yeah.
if they could
Without a
buy
doubt.
Run software, God, that'd be an amazing purchase right there.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so to you, Retri, the same question is: do you think Microsoft was purposely trying to appear more meek here because of regulators, and they're not
Yeah.
being as aggressive when it comes to that? And I guess
I
I'll
do.
pose the second question to you immediately, since you've already heard it. That you're tasked with combating that. What would you do? And so I'll ask both questions to you.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think they're rightly so. I mean, that's what I would do. Like, I certainly wouldn't be throwing my money around and money hatting everything right now. I know that's what I want them to do,
Mhm.
but I understand why they're doing what they're doing right now. And I've been saying that for a while. I think they're trying to like sit back and not be too aggressive because they're already being super aggressive by going after, you know, who they're going after. It's
ABK,
ABK is just, it's crazy, right? So when we talk about like Zeitgeist and when we talk about like Xbox aggressiveness, I'm not, you know, I recognize ABK is as aggressive as you can possibly be,
Right.
but I also of course want money hatting, and I do want it. I don't care. I
Yes,
don't
sir.
throw any punches. I don't care. It benefits me. I want them to also do third party stuff,
It's facts.
and I think, you know, as soon as, and I agree with Dave, maybe I think probably the right move is, because I think maybe they might want to still be the good guy, is not to do straight out owning IPs. I think marketing, it's worked so well for Sony, like it did with Hogwarts. Like we've seen it. The proof is in the pudding. They've had 20, 30 years of doing this. It's there. The numbers are there. Maybe doing the same thing. Get those marketing rights so Sony can't pretend and everyone's gonna think that Hogwarts or the next big Zeitgeist game is an exclusive to Sony, which I've seen. Saw it with Hogwarts, saw it with Destiny, saw just a ridiculous millions of people get fooled by marketing. Good marketing, right? So Xbox do the same thing. They're masters of it, and they're really good. So once ABK is done, hopefully in a timely fashion, I don't know when the heck it's going to get done, but you got games like Armored Core 6, there's rumors, hey, maybe that hits PlayStation. Atlas Fallen, there's a lot of great games coming from like Focus Entertainment. A lot of RPGs are coming out this year. A lot of stuff that was supposed to, there's good 20, 30 games that was supposed to hit 2022 that all got pushed into this year. This year is stacked to the nines. You got Immortals of I think it's Avium. I can't remember exactly how to say it. That's Electronics art game. That's that Magic one that is coming out. That looks awesome.
Yeah, Immortals of Avium. Yep.
Yeah, of Avium in July. Stuff like that. Like maybe that's probably too soon.
I don't think those are like Zeitgeist games.
No. Maybe that was a bad example of Zeitgeist games, but that's more like just hitting them over the head multiple times over. And Zeitgeist games, like I don't know what the heck's coming up that would be considered that they could money hat or even market. That's coming up. That's huge this year because there's a lot of like middle of the road games like the three I just mentioned, essentially, that I would not consider Zeitgeist games. Obviously, Call of Duty is your Zeitgeist game, right? So if they own them, then game over. And and it's going back. I think Call of Duty, no matter how many people say it wouldn't, I think it moves a little the needle a little bit and would bring some PlayStation guys over.
Agreed.
I agree with that.
Because as soon as you have the problem is once you add in family plan, and then if you're I know this is America and we're not the greatest at math, but when you can do basic arithmetic and you realize that the family plan will cost you less than Call of Duty would on PlayStation for the entire frickin' year, I think that's a mic drop moment, and I think it's game over. I think you start. Not game over Sony, but I think things start moving, right? Because it, again, is a Zeitgeist game, just like, the other games that we were mentioning earlier. So, I think I think after ABK, the gloves are coming off, because I don't think Xbox wants to be the meek company that they're being right now. I don't think they want to. I don't think Phil wants to do that. I don't think any of them want to do that. I think once this goes through, things will start changing. You'll see a Sobo get brought, get taken up. You'll see a bunch of other smaller companies. It's funny you said that, and then they'll go after Japan.
It's funny you said that because we had a question.
In my book.
They are. I would argue maybe they need to go after Focus Entertainment, by the way, too. I
love Focus. Focus.
Yeah.
What else do they own?
Focus has been.
Wait, does Focus own us?
I don't know if they own them, but they have so many quality devs under them. That they publish for.
I'm gonna have to look into this. Give me
Focus is looking real good to me. I've actually questioned, are they going to make Publisher of the Year this year? Possibly. They just have a lot of stuff going on, and they seem to be a lot of stuff that's very interesting to me. That just looks really cool.
Yeah, y'all sleeping on Space Marine too. Y'all sleeping.
So yes, thank you, brother. Oh,
y'all sleeping on Space Marine too.
No, I'm not. It's actually I'm staring at it right now. Warhammer 40,000.
Umbra was out here on Twitter the other day saying that Master Chief could beat an Ultramarine, and I think he just doesn't know what an Ultramarine is.
Listen, I had to mess with my buddy because he just out of the blue.
Okay.
Umbra, look at this Marine. He's Russian / Australian. Listen, I can beat this Marine, can beat Master Chief. What do you say to that? I'm just like, Chief was shit on him. I had to mess with him because he was taunting me, so I had to mess with him. But listen, so
it's like the whole Doom. It's like the whole Doom guy thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, no one's. I'm sorry, Master Chief's getting his ass handed to him. I'm just saying that right now.
So Inferno asked the question. He said, question for the panel. He says, what other deals do you think fell through while the ABK deal had been happening with Xbox, because that's, you all kind of alluded to
Well,
a few.
we saw
I
what
think the
went to
Sobos
Embracer
won.
Group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Crystal's probably one of
Oh
those.
yeah, the
I think
Embracer situation is actually
The Embracer
that made me
situation.
so mad,
there's
man. I was like,
listen,
$300 for all of that.
yeah, 300 million. I
rather?
guaranteed Xbox would have paid a
Yeah.
minimum of $1 billion for that.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
In a
Yeah.
freaking heartbeat.
Mhm.
That was like the steal of the century.
It
That is like
was.
Insomniac good of like level
I
of,
agree.
especially in the market in the time when they were all that was bought.
100%.
That's just a crazy deal.
100%.
So good for Embracer. Good for
Dynamics.
Embracer for getting that.
Yeah, it's like, come
Yeah.
on, man. That's Crystal Dynamics alone probably would have been worth that, considering what they
Yep.
paid with Tomb Raider and everything else. So, yeah,
I
that was
agree.
a steal. That was a major steal right there. So, Danny, let me transition. Oh, did you name
Yeah.
who you would? By the way, the second question, did you really go all out as far as it? Did you want to answer on that more?
Well, okay. Well, let me add another one. The Warhammer one was one of them. I'm glad you mentioned that, Daniel. That's a great that one. I know it's not really Zeitgeist.
Hell yeah.
Here's one
Marketed with
that
Henry Cavill.
wouldn't be necessarily Zeitgeist, but I think the name is Zeitgeist, and that's the Judas game coming from Ken Levine from BioShock's creator, which isn't
okay.
coming out for a while. So that could happen.
Yeah.
That's probably 2025.
I think
that's
that's a
something
good
that
shout.
Xbox could work on.
Yeah, I think that's an especially good shout, because you don't want to own that game, because Ken Levine is like known to be kind of a dickhead to work for.
Yeah,
and like
he's
work with.
definitely a
He's like,
douche.
like whatever bad PR inevitably comes out of that studio, you don't want to be a
Yeah.
part of it. But the game's gonna sell. So
The marketing rights for it would be fantastic.
be
though,
pretty
so.
good.
This game
Sometimes
is
you
on
do
screen.
touch things with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, this game on screen, by the way, would be one of those games I feel that could be a Zeitgeist game. And I think maybe they need to go after this. This is Black Wukong, I believe it is.
Yes, I
Oh,
love
Black
that
Summer
one.
Go, for
That's
sure.
yeah.
But yeah, Danny,
I
on
don't-
you, the
maybe.
same general questions.
100%. So, what was the first part of the question? Because the second part was, what would I do? What was the first part?
The first part was, do you think Microsoft is purposely trying to appear meek to appease regulators by
maybe.
not being so aggressive in money heading all these major AAA games the way Sony is?
Maybe. I think it more comes down to just like, it's hard to do all of these different like big transactions at the same time. But I do think that it really does, whether on purpose or not, I think it really does help them that PlayStation is still making all these moves while they're trying to push through to buy ABK. I think it's unironically helping them in a lot of these areas where they can be like, yeah, PlayStation is like, look at that guy over there, he's dripping in blood. I got like
Exactly.
one splash. And
Look what he's
yeah.
doing.
what's going on? That guy's killing people right now.
Exactly.
Like, they're just out here narking. As for what I would do, and I've talked about this on different podcasts, I think, to an extent. Number one thing, I'm going to James Gunn. He's looking to make games that tie into the DC universe. I'm going to him. We're making a deal. Whether it's we're making the marketing deal, whether it's we're sending Coalition over there to help them like make it like Coalition's been doing for all their first party studios or whatever, because they got their honeydew list. Just add DC to the honeydew list, right? Like, whether it's we're going to support you to make those games and then we're also going to market it. It doesn't even need to be exclusive, mind you. I mean, that would be a huge get, but doesn't need to be, right? We're helping it out. We're going to market it. We want people to think that this is our game. If you can make it exclusive, 100%, that's best. So, the other part of it, so I think that's the number one thing. You know, that's not something that's going to happen immediately, but that's something that's like 5-6 years from now when those games actually start like being announced that we would see that. And so that's like not soon enough, right?
By the way, that's like
so
my
what
favorite answer ever, Daniel. Like, it makes everyone else's answer seem like caca. So it's such a good idea.
Hey, now.
No offense.
Big brain on doing that here.
It's not by Sony. Come on.
That's true.
That was a good move.
Good point. That's good.
Yeah, well, we were never.
He's being
we didn't
serious
think about that.
Well, yeah, there you
The
go.
other, how do you know Dave wasn't being serious?
I don't know. Maybe.
I would say in the short term. Damn, I think in the short term, you just do more heavy marketing for the deals that are already rumored that they've been making. I think that we are going to see Indiana Jones in June because the Indiana Jones movie comes out in June. So I think it makes sense that they would show it off and be like, hey, plug, we got this game that's coming out. Is it going to be exclusive? Maybe. I hope so. Probably won't, but like, I hope so. And then I think we've also heard that they have several partnerships in the works with Disney. that was a big rumor. I think it came out of Jez.
Right.
And so if any of that is true, I think you announce it early, right? Because those are games that maybe you're not specifically making, you're just marketing. And if that's the case, you definitely market it early, because then you can't be held accountable for like, why is it taking so long for this game to show up? It's not our game. Don't know. Can't tell you. Right. That's why PlayStation's getting away with the state that KOTOR remake is in, right? They bought the exclusivity for that, and the game's a soft canceled, and no one's blaming PlayStation for that because it's literally not their fault. It's not their studio. So I think you definitely do that. If it is games that are being made by internal studios, like I don't know, id Software is making a Punisher game or something, because I guess that's technically, because that's Disney now, right? Like if anything like that has happened, I think also we announced that really early. Wolverine's been announced for what, two years already, and that game's not coming out anytime soon. I got bad news for anybody who's hoping that they're gonna play that they're gonna be playing Wolverine in the next 2-3 years. You're not. I'm sorry, it's very unlikely.
You don't think within 2 years, maybe?
I do.
I really don't.
I do.
I don't know.
I think
based off of
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Insomniac, yeah.
I think
Well,
but
if
here's
they
the
build it on
reason why
the
I think
same
that-
engine and everything, and just basically switch out a few polygons, I mean,
Well,
sure,
but-
that's kind of what they're doing now with Spider-Man 2, isn't it?
Well, okay, if Wolverine takes
Ouch.
place in New York, then maybe. But
Web
otherwise,
Games
no.
opinions are not. Web Games
He's in
opinions
New
are not
York. He's
reflective
just tearing down
of
buildings.
this program.
The other part of it to keep in mind
I
is
like
that Insomniac is consistent of two primary teams, the one that's been working on Spider-Man and the one that's been working on Ratchet and Clank. And I do firmly believe that the one who's working on Spider-Man is also going to be the one that's working on Wolverine, because I don't think that the Ratchet and Clank team
That's a good point.
going to
That's a good point.
transition to Wolverine. So I think that we're going to have another Insomniac game between Spider-Man and Wolverine, and we just announced Wolverine early because it's Wolverine.
Mhm.
Right? He's like the most popular Marvel character aside from Spider-Man. Right? And they already had that. So
I'll give Sony this though.
so yeah.
They know how to make their things exciting. You see that with Wolverine. You see this with Spider-Man. You start to get the formed idea. They're going to make their own MCU, aren't they? Those are the
I think
thoughts.
so. I think in the video
Yeah.
game world, that's a lot harder just because of how much longer games take to make. So I don't think that we'll get to like an end game level. But yeah, I think they are making like
maybe
a
not in game level, but they'll definitely get a lot of the bigger stars. You already saw the Hulk also
Sure.
mentioned inside of the Wolverine.
But that's why
trailer, too.
Microsoft teams up with James Gunn. They cut out the middleman. Then they got the movies and the games that
Mhm.
are building up the same universe.
That
And
was-
he's been saying that they want the actors to play. This is a sidetrack at this point. He's been saying that he wants the actors to be the same ones that do the voice of like the animated shows and the games and the movies. So
Oh,
you'd be like-
yes.
so you would have all that big
Perfect.
name, not just from the characters, but also from the actors. It's a win-win. It's the perfect idea. If
Yep.
Phil's not doing this, I'm mad at him.
I would say I don't necessarily need the stars to do the voice acting, but
I kind of love that idea, though.
it depends, right? Some actors,
cool.
I think
Yeah.
voice actors excel better.
I get the
normal
budget
actors in
would be
certain
tough,
cases.
I mean,
Yeah.
they might be
Yeah,
able to
and
work it
also,
into their
like-
contract to be in the movie too. So
Mhm.
Could do that, I suppose. So
But yeah, so that would be my move.
that's good thoughts, guys. Mine would be, and I don't know if Microsoft is necessarily appearing meek. I think some of their moves have been focused on that because of the acquisition, and it's hindered a lot of things, unfortunately. But I would say Zeitgeist. I think of Grand Theft Auto. I think of
Mhm.
Mass Effect that we just played a minute ago. I think
Lord,
of
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Eh, I
think
can't
of-
even mentally like start thinking Mass Effect yet because they've already been heel dragging on Dragon Age for so long that like I can't even start putting my hope in the Mass Effect basket.
Hell, I'll go as
And I
far as
don't
to
mean,
say
and I don't
Assassin's
mean,
Creed.
I don't mean Gollum, by the way. I'm not
Yeah,
saying Lord of the Rings
exactly.
Umbra, I
Gollum
can't
because
be
I
hurting
don't
it.
care about that.
Yeah, see,
I can't be hurt again on Mass Effect. You can't do it to me.
they can't do it. Don't you hurt me?
Precious.
Don't you hurt me, baby.
Mhm.
But no, I feel like they're going to rebound properly with Mass Effect. I don't know what it is, but I feel like they will. But that's a Zeitgeist game either way, right? Even if we feel like
Yeah.
they might falter, that is a Zeitgeist thing. Getting WB, by the way, that would be my thing. Get WB, get that gaming license. I mean, not the gaming license, that DC license, as well as these
Yeah.
studios. You
The
can
whole thing.
the whole shebang. They can do so much with that. Hell, Inferno is correct. The Doke V, that's nice too, but that's not a Zeitgeist. But
That was
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was something I forgot to mention. One of the other things that I think that they absolutely should do, and it's something that they're already doing to a certain extent, is make the games that you already own into Zeitgeist games.
That's
right?
true,
So
too.
do the Fallout show, do the Gears of War stuff on Netflix that you're talking about, do the Halo show book at this time, right? Like do make
Yep.
And they got some. They have some. You're right. The Fallouts, the Elder Scrolls, those are Zeitgeist. So
Yep.
make those your priority in making sure that not only are they great, but that they are prominent. Make those things as big as, and they need to do that with Halo too. They need to get that back. They need to find that magic somehow again. I don't know if they need to change teams or whatever it is, but they cannot allow Halo to sink deeper than what it is. And that's been part of the issue with them. Yeah, I think most of us are like, get rid of 343. I think is the typical, it's the typical response, and maybe that needs to happen. You know what I mean? But Halo is a Zeitgeist game. It should be treated as such, and it deserves more respect in that regard. But these things,
BioShock 4.
Yeah,
BioShock 4 will be coming out eventually.
Get that. And then, by the way, I'm hearing we had rumor of Sony acquiring that as far as Moneyhatting goes. So,
and that's going to be a movie as well.
See, like they can't Xbox can't keep allowing that to happen, in my honest opinion. They have to step into that arena and say, no, that's enough. We're going to get marketing for this. We're going to get marketing for that. That has to happen, in my honest opinion. And because after a while you start, Star Wars, that would be another great one to associate with the brand. It has to be a point where they cut off and say, that's enough. We're going to have this, and like what Sony did with Harry Potter, and it sold so many PS5s recently. I'm pretty sure it helped a lot, because like you all pointed out, Sony is so good at marketing that it makes it seem like that game is only to be had on that platform. I know Colt spoke on it before too. Actually, when he joined us, he pointed that out too. And so that is something that they definitely have to do to change this narrative, because at the moment it seems like, and you're right, Danny, on certain points where they are doing aggressive moves here and there, right? I just feel like their focus when it comes to properly cementing that Zeitgeist movement into saying this is something that this brand is also known for. It's something they have to get back to. And I'm looking at the Star Wars here, and it makes me think of KOTOR, and I think of how much of a slap to the face it was to see KOTOR exclusively over to PlayStation. It's like, how do you allow that?
Make no mistake, if I did not have a PlayStation, that would have been the one 100% I would have bought it for.
Now it's indefinitely on hold.
It would have been until we started hearing about how
would
that
have
been made.
Yeah.
In theory, when I first heard
theoretically.
In theory, right?
In theory, with a better dev team on it, I'd have been like, oh,
yeah.
But yeah,
100%.
So that's the thing there. And so look, I'm seeing spacefaring battle here, and it makes me think of Starfield, and it makes me think of SpaceX.
SpaceX.
So.
Get in there, Retry.
Yeah. So one of the things, that we had seen. Let me transition to seeing you guys.
I've got it all written out here. Do you want me to just cover it real fast?
I want you to cover it, but I'm also going to pull this up to. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Not going to show any adult content, are you?
No.
The footage of the SpaceX hasn't come out yet, unfortunately. I've been Googling for it, but I found a lot of things.
Yeah.
I found a lot of things that were not what I was looking for, but also maybe I just didn't know.
I'm sure you did.
Maybe I just didn't know what I really wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've discovered all new fetishes and kinks.
So there you go, Danny. You can start covering that.
Real problem. Yeah. So the big news that came out is Starfield has been rated by the ESRB as an M, which is relatively unsurprising. I think the majority of the Bethesda games come out as M's because of a multitude of reasons. In this case, it's specifically because of drug and alcohol use, violence, blood, sex, and suggestive themes. Now, part of this we already knew, right? Drugs and alcohol. I think that was pretty much a given, especially since there's a whole planet called what is it? Nova, where there's a drug called Aurora that's completely legal there, and like that's the whole reason to go. And that was like one of the first things they told us, so that we already knew. Blood is a good thing to hear, because there was a bit in the gameplay that we saw last year where people were getting shot up and there was no blood spatter even when you were shooting them with a shotgun. So it's good to know that that's not the case anymore, at least theoretically. So that's good. We're definitely seeing improvements between the gameplay already.
Speaking of that, and gunplay, by the way, it's not mentioned there, but I've heard rumors that
the rumor,
the id Software is helping them with the gunplay and everything like that. How much?
Yeah,
how much
I'm
do
sure
you
it
all
won't
put
feel
onto
like
that?
Doom.
I believe it 100%.
We heard that a while ago, but
Yeah,
what's
been a
surprising, like
while.
they were saying from we've known that for a long time, but they said since like last August. So that that's what they're alluding to. We did not know that part. So let's
Great.
hope so.
Look at Gray Monads comment in the chat, guys.
I'm going
Oh no. Well, Gray
I
Monad,
guess we're gonna
it's a
find out in
Very
September.
carefully.
Yeah, we'll find out in
From
September.
my Google searches, what I found out is some of them got more than one. 8
Sweet.
legs. 7.
Good
man.
luck. Good luck pleasing her.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Where
I
there's
like
a
mine
willy,
al
there's a
dente
way.
and
Where
honest-
there's
Too
a
much
Willy,
work.
there's a
Too much
way.
work.
Good. He
With
said-
Willy.
One of the other things that came out of this ERSRB thing that has been spread around a lot, both positively and negatively, but mostly negatively, as is usually the case on the internet, is that it also confirmed that there's going to be in-game purchases. Now, people have jumped to the conclusion that this means that it's going to be microtransactions, which I feel like is the least likely scenario. More likely than not, this just means that Starfield will have the Creation Club in it, which makes a lot of sense when you consider that mods are what's going to keep this game alive for a long period of time.
Absolutely.
And after this game, they're rolling straight into Elder Scrolls and then Fallout, so it's going to be a while before we get another Starfield game, more than likely.
Yeah.
We kind of need those mods to keep this game fresh that whole time, and I'm sure there'll be expansions and stuff. But that's the other point, is that something that Mr. Matty plays, a YouTuber that I quite enjoy. His shooter says, "What's sex?" Oh, ask your mom. But
Ow.
the
Shooter says he makes
points
love. He don't know nothing about no sex.
Yeah, sorry. So Matty Plays pointed out on one of his videos that in video games where there's a link to downloadable content in the game, even if it's just like an expansion or a normal DLC, that still hits the SRB rating. So it could literally just mean that there's DLC for this game, which I feel like is already a given. Again, I think the most likely scenario is that there's a Creation Club, but
I agree.
Just to
100%.
like pour a little bit of cold water on this, all it means is that there, like, at the absolute bare minimum, all it for sure guarantees is that there's DLC. So like
DLC,
I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Expansions, and of course, like you said, the Creation Club. It's 9 times out of 10 referencing the creation.
I'm thinking that it's actually going to be in-game sex shops, and you go in there and you buy all kind of weird equipment for your
There was
games.
They actually had that, by the way, in the previous game, so that's not far-fetched. But
y'all remember Fisto? I do.
Yeah. So listen, I'm all for this because I'm hoping that it will allow for much more creativity rather, because we talked about having to possibly play this on PC because we wouldn't be able to get it on console. So I'm hoping that allows for mods like the Millennium Falcon, as I keep referencing, or something like. I'm hoping it opens the door for that. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. And what else did they say on this, Danny?
So we got a couple of smaller confirmations that were mixed in there because in the full description of it, they break down sort of why these things were, why it was rated for these certain things. So for drug use, apparently there's a mission that they specifically point out where you can work at a drug lab. I assume that it's one of those like optional things where you can just walk in and shoot everybody because it's a Bethesda game. But like if you want to work at a drug lab, Walter White style, it's there for you.
Yeah, baby.
They've also confirmed a lot of
all
new
the drugs.
weapons, just all the standard stuff that you would expect. And then also they were like axes and explosives, and people were like axes, and I was like, yeah, it's an axe, dude. Like I don't know why you're so excited about this in particular, but whatever. They confirmed human, robot, and alien enemies, which I feel like is what most people would have expected, but it's good to know.
Speaking of
for
which,
sure.
are they talking about bipedal type of aliens, or are they talking about
Unclear.
intelligent?
Unclear.
Yeah.
I don't think it's intelligent. I think it's literally just gonna be creatures. From what I know, I'm hearing, it's not going to be other intelligent beings like Mass Effect.
Nah, that's
For sure.
Like,
I think that we'll
don't know.
get there, but I think at least at the beginning, I think it's just going to be like, what's this weird crab monster?
Maybe that'll be an expansion
Right?
later.
Crab monster.
Yeah, it could be DLC.
First
DLC,
contact.
make out with this robot.
So let me ask you all something. One thing I thought about the other day, and I was talking to a party on Xbox, and I asked Jedi Knight Peter and a few people. I said, "Did you all feel a little bit disappointed when they pointed out that the main character that you play as is a minor, M-I-N-E-R, so nobody can make any jokes about he's a minor. Oh, he's a kid.
A minor.
Yeah,
I take back all my comments about Alien.
I had to say that really quick because as soon as I said it in the party, they were like, a minor, a child. I was like, So do you all feel kind of like a little.
No, I
just
mean Mario's a
buyback.
plumber, and that never mattered. So
I know, but this right here is a
Touche.
grander.
I know what you're
scheme, right?
saying because it kind of makes you feel like you're just going to go to 1,000 planets and just like be
Exactly, just-
digging the whole time.
Right.
yeah,
Versus,
I think if
Why
there's
isn't
that-
my
versus
guy
something-
starting off as a pirate?
exactly, or something like something that seems more monumental, like
Yeah.
he's a commander or something. Maybe I got too much Mass
Right.
Effect on the mind.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I don't
from
think
what we've
it's a
heard,
big
you
deal.
can become all those things. Like, you can
Right, you
become a
become
pirate
those,
and a
exactly.
warlord and all that stuff.
Mm.
I think that probably the reason that you start as a miner is just to have an excuse for why you like gather resources and do all the base building stuff that they've been talking about. It's probably literally just that. But again, just like with Fallout 4, because I know people didn't like the base building in Fallout 4 because they're cowards. But I think again, just in this game, it's going to be almost entirely optional. Like if you just want to be a space, it's going to be a game that is designed for adults, which I think is a good thing. But also, I feel like we probably would have expected most of these things.
We just had a weird moment happen. I don't know if it affected the stream just now, but OBS had stopped and then reconnected. So
Really?
I wonder if it cut off the last bit of dialogue right there or not.
I hope not.
That was
but
We've been
very,
censored.
very odd.
I'm still
I
seeing
know.
text.
Right
I'm
when I was
still
talking
seeing
about
people
drugs.
in the chat,
Weird.
so I
Yeah.
think it's probably fine.
Fortunately, it was just.
Oh, it says it paused for a
Okay,
second,
yeah.
but it's back.
It
Yeah, we're
wasn't
good.
too crazy long, but yeah.
Thanks, Alec.
Damn you, OBS. Almost had a flawless show for once. Yeah. What else, Danny? What was the last part?
No, I mean, it's pretty much it. The only other thing that I had on here was the bit about you being a miner who goes around and collects things. I do think that collecting the artifacts is going to be maybe like the main story, or it'll lead into the main story where you're like, hey, these artifacts are big alien spooky nonsense. And then like at the end or whatever, maybe 2/3 of the way through, you find bipedal like sentient aliens and they're undoubtedly evil or something. Like
I hope that's
Who's
the
to say?
case, that we see
Who's to
more
say?
advanced alien life and such, you know.
Me
That would be
too.
dope, yeah. Because I don't
Yeah.
want
I
to.
have to
think
assume.
I do think it is coming though.
I hope
Yeah,
so.
I have to assume at least at first it's just going to be like a forerunner situation where they're like, "Oh, this is this crazy
Right.
tech that's like a bazillion years old.
That's
What's
what I'm
this all
kind of
about?"
thinking, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
kinda
and then
thinking the
eventually it'll
same.
be like, "And here's the aliens."
Yep, and you'll
I
find
just don't know.
this Stargate that he's looking for because they.
I was just thinking Stargate because
Yeah.
we've seen
Yeah.
those like the
Stargate
circular
issue.
things twisting around. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of.
The new, other galaxies and such and universes.
Mhm.
That'll be pretty dope. Yeah, I hope so. It looks like
Yeah.
it's going to be that kind of monumental game. That's why I keep seeing people like. I posted a tweet earlier saying that, like, wow, Starfield has some serious stiff competition when it comes to the Game of the Year contender thing with Zelda hitting all these 10s and such, right?
Yeah.
People,
Yeah.
of course, our Hoove brothers jumped on it immediately. He said Starfield. It's like, where did you all get this thought in your head that Starfield and Bethesda in part?
Why y'all out here not playing games? Who
What?
asked for you?
Well,
who
they
asked
never, they never play. They never play games. But why
Yeah.
did you all jump to the notion of Bethesda in the 18 with Todd Howard? All of a sudden, their games are not good, and that to me
Well,
is
there's-
so pathetic right there when I see stuff like that. It's like, no.
They're so excited for their Spider-Man expansion pack they're gonna get later on in the year.
one idiot got jumped on there.
There's a lot of Spider-Man slander coming
There's a
from
lot of
Dave's
Spider-Man
side.
slander
It
going.
is- it
I
is
will
a lot.
say though,
But one
if
idiot came in
Spider-Man
there
2
and dismissed Starfield, but then said Spider-Man 2 would win Game of the Year, but not Starfield. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
I will say
Whatever.
though, and I think it will be a really good game. But if Spider-Man 2 comes out and is like a flop, or honestly even like a 7, that's a huge bummer because PlayStation, it's their
Yeah.
only game this year. I mean, the show,
Yeah,
I
it
guess,
is,
but
isn't it?
like, it's a real bummer. Like, I think it'll be really good, but
Pretty sure it will be.
people.
What about their first-party game, Final Fantasy 16?
Oh, you're right, dude.
Chump ass
Wow,
motherfuckers.
everyone keeps
Sorry.
bringing that up, but they're like, "Oh yeah, what about this game?" And it's like they don't own that.
Not for.
But whatever.
Right.
Genuinely, it's this situation where I actually think that there is equivalent pressure on Spider-Man 2 than there is on Starfield. Starfield,
Amen.
you know,
You think
Yeah.
so? I don't know.
I
Oh,
do,
yes.
I really
I
do.
can kind of see that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I see where he's coming from.
It's
Yeah.
their only game this
I don't
year.
see that.
Star-
You have to
Starfield,
hit. Yeah,
I
you
think
have to
Starfield has
hit.
more. I just think they're sort of equivalent in terms of like, I think that Spider-Man is going to be a very important game for PlayStation and Xbox. Starfield is a very important game for
No,
Xbox.
they're both important.
And like they're on
but
different levels.
They're important in different levels. But the thing is that Starfield, Spider-Man doesn't have the unfortunate legacy, at least, of having a previous game from first party hit terribly. Whereas Starfield
But I do think that
does.
will also. I think that you're right that Redfall is going to put more pressure on Starfield. But I think also the previous Spider-Man games, because they're so beloved, are going to put more pressure on Spider-Man 2 as well, because they're going to be held to that standard. Whereas Starfield is a completely new IP.
Yeah,
The
but
most
you
recent
can
thing
still
that's
put
going to
that
be
on the
held
team,
to
though.
is Fallout 76. And like
I
that's an
disagree.
easy bar to jump.
Now,
That's a real easy
they'll
bar to
definitely
jump.
say Fallout 76, but you still have the pedigree of past games. You still have the
You do, but
still
those
have
past games are
Skyrim.
so long
You
ago that
still
the
have
Zoomers haven't played
Fallout.
them because they don't show up in.
They might not
Fortnite.
mention it, but there's still that legacy of great games they have to live up to. Skyrim is still something that's
No, I
relevant
agree. It's
right
just
now,
like
so it's something that they still have to say. You didn't make this great.
20 years in the
Skyrim.
making. There's
Yeah.
also that.
I do
Exactly.
think that
It's a lot
you're
more
definitely
pressure on
right.
Starfield than
But I
Spider-Man.
do think
Plus, Spider-Man, you can throw out anything with Spider-Man that's going to sell because it's Spider-Man. You
Yeah,
can't,
yeah, it'll
you can't,
sell
you can't
because
necessarily
Spider-Man's
do
good.
that with Starfield.
Spider-Man
because
is going to be
it's a
good.
new
I have a
IP,
feeling it
et
will be
cetera,
good, but
et
it's a
cetera.
one and done. You
Right.
know, Starfield, you'll be playing it for years.
Listen,
Yep.
now, you're right about
I know I
that, but
would.
I've heard PlayStation guys, our Hoove brothers, say, I kid you not, I was in a space one time and this guy said, well, they're not one and done for me. I'm on my 50th playthrough
Keep
of
playing.
Spider-Man. I'm like,
Oh
what?
yeah, because he has nothing else to play.
I was like, no, they have other games, but it's like
Uh,
their rationale is, I'll just keep playing this over and over. I'm like, man,
I don't do that. I
I
don't know
couldn't
many
do
people who
that.
do, but I move
Yeah.
right the hell on. Personally.
Yeah.
I just-
and I
just-
love
Spider-Man
the
circle
Spider-Man
jerk.
games.
this is sort of something that we talked about this in the green room a little bit, me and Retri and Dave, where similar to the James Gunn situation, I feel like a new Marvel movie that comes out has so much to live up to because all of the previous games have been, like all the previous movies have been really good up until like Phase 4 where everything started going really weird. Whereas when James Gunn leaves MCU and goes to DCU, he literally only has to put out a game that's like okay. Like the bar has never been
Yeah,
that
the bar
pretty
is
low.
super low.
Yeah.
It's
like
so
I think
low.
I think people have this like different conception with Xbox where they're like, man, if Starfield isn't the most amazing game that's ever happened, then Xbox is dead. But I think the other
Yeah,
part of it
don't
is that like Starfield doesn't have to be that good to look so
Nope.
much better than the other stuff they've put out.
Yep.
I'll say this: if
Yep.
they're, if
You know what I
they're-
mean?
the thing is,
I
though,
100% agree with that.
it's a thing of social. I don't know how to reference this. It's a thing of social, the socialness of it, right? I guess it's the best way I'll say now because I can't think of the other word I want to use. If Metacritic and OpenCritic does not have Starfield rated well, it doesn't matter if we think, well, it still did better than this and it's got like an 80. That is not going to set the world on fire. They have to have higher scores than that Metacritic wise. And I know people are going to say, well, who cares about critics? Everybody cares about the critic scores.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Because
don't. So that's not everybody, but
well,
a lot of people. You're right.
say that, but it's this real, it's
Um,
real dismissive because they try to say it doesn't matter to me. It matters overall. It matters to the zeitgeist. Again, it goes back to
I don't
that.
know.
Yep.
It does. Now you can say that if you want. It does. You can say that if you want, but it does absolutely matter. And it might
I
not
think
matter
it
to
can,
you on a
I have to
micro-
agree with him because
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this: Elden Ring.
Yep,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
on-
if you're telling me that the scores didn't move the needle, which
Yeah.
by the way passed 20 million now,
20.5.
I have to
Yeah.
say I disagree.
It's a fact. And
I'm not
like,
saying
we
it
can
doesn't. That
personally
it completely
say that.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I just don't think it's as big a deal as everyone makes
It
it
is
out to be.
absolutely
Be
a big a
careful
deal.
though.
Now,
Be
Oh, no,
careful
it's a-
to
because
us
there's
on a
going to be
micro
a
level,
lot of
it
people.
might not be as big a deal, but on a micro level, like to us, it's not. Macro is
No, see-
absolutely it's a bigger deal than people want to let on.
I think
It
it's a big deal to the
absolutely moves that
people
needle.
who are us and the people who are listening to this podcast. I think that the more important thing is like the recognizability of the game, right? If a Spider-Man comes out, if a Spider-Man game comes out and it's a 6 out of 10, it's still going to sell like crazy. It doesn't matter because
Yep.
it's a Spider-Man game.
You're right. Just like
Doesn't matter at all.
Anything
If,
Star Wars,
if
right.
Tears of the Kingdom's reviews had been like, this game is a 4 out of 10, it would still sell like crazy. Look at Pokemon. That
Yeah,
newest game
just
was
like-
broken.
just
and
like
launched
Minecraft.
Can you
lower
say
than
that for
every other game.
Starfield? Can
Broken
you
like
say that for
crap.
Starfield?
No, because Starfield doesn't have that
That's
same
my
level
point.
of built up stuff.
And that's
but
my point. This is
but I wasn't
why.
talking about
Hold on,
Starfield. I was
hold on.
just talking
Time
about
out.
reviews in
Time out.
general.
This is my
Oh,
point,
okay.
though. So this
We
is
got
why.
time out now.
This is why I said it matters. Yeah, because you kind of flow off with the mouth a little bit. So my point is to say. My point is to you is it matters so much more because Starfield is a new IP. You can have that with Spider-Man, like you said. You can have that with Pokemon. Those are Zeitgeist major games and major IP and world known. You cannot say the same for Starfield. That's why it matters that this scores well. That's why the pressure is different for this than it is for Spider-Man. You kind of you went against literally what you made a point on earlier. This is my point. Starfield has to hit heavy. That you cannot dismiss that and say, well, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. No matter what anybody else tells you, this game has to hit Metacritic and OpenCritic well. It's just a fact. No matter how you feel about it personally,
like a
as a
97
gamer.
though.
I don't think it
you
needs
know
to
what
be
I
a
mean?
97.
Like it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't
Like
need
an
to
80.
hit like a Zelda.
No, not at all. I agree with you there.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that's what people are. That's what people are talking about. Is they're
No,
like, it needs
I don't
to
think
be
it
like
needs
that.
to be.
That's
No
what they're
way.
saying on Unlocked. That's what they literally said on Unlocked this
Some
week.
people
Yeah.
go into the
No.
extreme, right? But let's say
Guys.
let's say if it hit a 90, that's more than great right there. It's a 9 out of 10.
bring
Nobody
up one
nobody
point?
is reasonably going to be like, oh, they failed, right? But if you hit, I think even an 87 would be well. But let's say something like a 7 out of 10. No, they cannot afford to have a 7 out of 10 Starfield. And I think nobody here would disagree with that. That's just what I'm saying. And even if you feel like the Metacritics and stuff don't matter, you cannot have a 7 out of 10 after you just had a 5 or 6 out of 10 with Redfall. It cannot happen. That's my point right there. But go ahead, Dave.
Should not happen.
Yeah, should not and cannot.
It shouldn't happen. I mean, the majority of people don't know what the review scores are. To be fair,
Yeah,
like that's
but
100%
we do,
true.
and we are the movers, though. See, that's the thing. We are the movers. We got the casuals who are going to buy whatever, but we are the movers because one comment from us, and it's the thing that's in business in general. You have one person that passes on the word of mouth.
We are all powerful.
Eight different people
I
are
really
going to
don't
hear
think
that.
I got that power.
You do. You, believe it or not, you do, because your
You
word
got
of,
me to watch anime, and I'm loving it. So
See?
maybe you
Yeah.
do.
That's
Sir.
on you.
Maybe you do.
That's on you. If you like anime, then you're a degenerate just like me.
There you go.
All right.
But my point
Cool.
is, one person can move 8 different people to saying this is worth it or it's not. It's the same thing in other businesses. So you got all of us in a hardcore, and I know we're the smaller, out of the smaller group out of obviously the casuals, right? But that's going to move it. It's the same thing with Elden Ring. Elden Ring, that's a niche game. Nobody would be playing that like it, but it's so
A lot of first timers. A lot of Souls first timers got
That's
that
right.
game.
And why is that?
Shit
Because
ton.
hardcore.
Because it's part of a huge legacy of Souls games.
No, that's not why.
No,
That's not why.
100%
That's definitely
no.
not
Okay.
why.
Totally
It is
disagree with
because
that.
of the what's up 3-bit? It's because of the Zeitgeist. Is a greater movement of us.
Yo,
No,
When
you're
we,
right. Nobody
when we
cared about
speak
Bloodborne
on,
or
when
Dark
we
Souls
speak
3.
on,
That's
no,
fair.
it's not that nobody don't care.
If they did,
that's-
they would have sold. They didn't sell.
That's right. That
Bloodborne
it-
sold like
Elden
fucking
Ring
crazy.
Elden Ring sold more than like the last Souls games combined.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
6 of them
that
combined.
doesn't. Hold on. See, this doesn't just happen, but because it happened, Danny, and because they sold other games in the legacy. No, it's because people in the hardcore community, because that's a hardcore game. That's not a casual game. People in the hardcore community pushed that game heavy. It scored well as well. That helped a lot. And then it got into TikTok and got into everything else that other casuals saw and said, yo, let me get into this. The hardcore.
I mean,
pushed that.
Redfall on TikTok. I don't know if you've been seeing it.
Redfall has been on it, but look, Redfall has been in the
Well,
top.
I put that
Hold
out
up.
because of all the bugs. I thought it was
One
funny.
second though, but Redfall has been in the top 3, if I'm not mistaken, for most played games on Xbox. So that goes to the point right there. You see. So my whole
Yeah,
point
goes
of
to
it is,
my point.
and that's
it's still getting played even though it's trash.
no, that goes to the point where you just said, well, Redfall was on TikTok. Yeah, Redfall is being pushed heavy because it's also being pushed by us. The hardcore are pushing Redfall.
Right, and its
So
reviews are bad, which is my whole point.
But my whole point is that if you have a bad game, it's still, but Redfall is going to fall off. That's not going to. That's not going to stay. Starfield has to stay. You see what I'm trying to say? So my point of it is, and also it goes to the matter of the brand recognition and the brand hit. If you have another game that lands at a 7 or lower from a major IP 20 plus years in the making with Starfield, that is not the hit you think is going to be for Xbox at all. Those ratings and reviews matter no matter what you tell yourself. So
I'm not telling myself nothing. I'm just looking at numbers.
no, it's just
I'm
the
just looking
fact.
at numbers of games that do not perform well and still sell insanely well.
Name the games that sold insanely well that did that.
Minecraft
poorly.
Legends, fucking Redfall.
Wait, no. Whoa.
These are 2 games.
Minecraft,
like
Minecraft Legends on
Legends
Xbox.
has like
What
a
is it sold?
72, and it's the most sold game on
72
Switch last
is a
month.
good. Hold on, time out. See, that's where I mean by we have to understand language. 72 is a good score. That's not a bad score.
You were just saying Starfield had to be like an 87.
Yes, because Starfield has a higher precedence put on it. That's not Minecraft. Minecraft is a set thing. That's not nobody expects a 9 out of 10 from Minecraft. You expect that from Starfield with the A team of God Howard, right?
I can guarantee you the Minecraft.
There's
is
a
gonna be more
difference
money
here
than
that people are not
Starfield.
understanding. And a 72 is a good game. That means it's a good score. You all gonna have to understand this. It's not the same thing. It's different. There's levels to this when it comes to this. Starfield is not Minecraft. Starfield is a Zeitgeist possible game because it's made by Zeitgeist creators. Todd Howard is one of the Mount Rushmore of creators. You know what I mean? People will put him up there with the Miyamotos and so on and so forth. This is not something simple that can just be, as long as it scored 7. It cannot do that. It has much more heavy precedent on it than a Minecraft.
No, and I think that it will. Like, I think that it will score.
I think it will
very
too.
well.
I'm just saying that it cannot.
Right.
Score
That's
under.
never
That's
been part
all
of the
I'm saying.
question. But genuinely, like, I think people are having this like misconception that if this game comes out, even if it's like, you know, because I think realistically it's going to be like a mid 80s somewhere in
That's
there.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I think that's
you
the most
you all
likely
thinking like
scenario.
83,
And there's
84?
so many people I see where they're like, if it's in the 80s, it's a trash game. And I'm like, what are you talking
You
about?
got idiots online that do that. But
Like, what are you
you guys
talking
are
about?
thinking 83, 84. Well, as a matter of fact, I'll ask this better yet. How about this? All 4 of us here. What is right now? What is your score that you think Starfield will get?
You guys
I
aren't
think
gonna
like
like my answer.
Danny, what do you think?
I think it's like 85, 86.
Now that's good. Listen, 85, 86
Yeah.
is great. What about you, Dave?
A 90.
See, I'm with Dave. I'm thinking it's going to hit in that 90 area. What about you, Retri?
I'm gonna say 82, but I still think that's a fantastic game. There's nothing wrong with an 82.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of lower though. I didn't expect such a lower one.
Listen, I think if the frame rate ain't 60, I think people are gonna attack it.
I agree
People
with that.
love to crap on Xbox.
True.
I think it's
Xbox
the.
tax.
I don't
You're
think
right.
I think it could be an 82 scored game that deserves a 90. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's fair.
In my eyes, I think the bias is absolutely real. I've seen it way too many times in this industry, and I think it's a fun thing to do to crap on Xbox. But this is going to be the game. I'm probably going to put 1,000 hours into.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just the truth of the matter.
That's for a
You know what I mean?
fact. I see some in the chat are saying 86, 89. I see 3-bit Doovie.
I think that's where we're. I think
Yeah.
that's where we're sitting. Like,
I
I don't
see
think it's going to
TZ,
be
89,
this like
93.
95 plus game,
I-
right? And
I hope
that's
it
what I've been
is.
seeing people on the media side saying that it needs to be, and it's not going to be that.
That's ridiculous. I don't think it needs to
I
be.
think anywhere from an 86 on up is a success. I mean, I know that is.
What
80
score are you giving it?
Me, I'm going to lean toward where you put it at. I'm going to lean toward the 90. So I'll say anywhere from 88 to 92. I think.
All right, I want to jump in here real quick and just say one thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few moments later.
No, but seriously, what I want
That's a good point.
to say is that the big thing that a lot of people are not putting in weight in on this, and I think with the Metacritic and OpenCritic, people are really going to need to watch it because there is a lot of fanboy hate that is going to come out on this game for the simple fact that it's not
100%.
available on PlayStation.
Not a question.
And they feel like it's been stolen from them, and
that
they're just
player
going to
score?
absolutely shit it in the toilet.
Yeah, the user score is
Yeah.
gonna go.
That user score?
whoosh.
It's gonna be-
I'm not
it's
talking
gonna be
user
real
score.
mess.
I'm talking. You're going to have some fanboy website type. The big boys that the
Oh, yeah.
IGNs and these. I guarantee
totally
you, they
expect
are
that.
going to be hard on this game
Yeah.
like it doesn't deserve.
Well,
Yep.
and so
I agree with
this
that.
just to
I
clarify
agree.
it, because things got heated for a second there. That is my point. is I don't think that's exactly what I'm saying. Is I don't think that the number matters as much as what people are saying, right? Because to your point, Umbra, if the community of people who are playing this game loves it, it doesn't matter if that review score is a 2, right? Because most people who are going to see it aren't going to see what IGN gave it. They're going to see what people on their favorite podcasts are talking about. They're going to be like, hey, did you play that Starfield game? And someone's going to be like, yeah, it was great. They're not going to care what the number is.
Well,
Most of them won't even
let me
see it.
challenge that really quick. So you're saying that people on a podcast, and if it scores a 0 or a 2, well,
Yeah, it
that
won't
would mean it's a broken game. Nobody would be bigging this game up at a 2, Danny. Now I know you're being
Well, I
extreme.
was exaggerating,
Of
obviously.
course,
Right.
but I'm just saying,
But-
like, if that was the case and people are watching these podcasters or they're seeing that Metacritic or they go to the GameStop, GameStop is nefarious. I don't know if people understand how nefarious GameStop can be. You go into there and most of them are Hoove brothers. Let me be clear. If
I
that-
do. I used to work there.
See,
Not everybody's Who brothers, sir.
most
Definitely,
of
yeah,
them,
definitely not down here in Texas. Texas.
most
Not
of them
here
that I've
in
ever
Kentucky.
interacted with are heavily on PlayStation side, if not Nintendo.
I
You
had
need to
never
get
met
out
no one
more.
nice from Chicago,
kidding.
so you might just be in a bad
You-
neighborhood.
I don't know. I've gone to I've gone to
You
a
need to
few
move,
places
sir.
in Chicago. Hell, I've
Just
gone
kidding.
to places out of state to GameStops, but
I'm
and
playing.
all of
man.
them
We're just
typically
playing.
are like, oh, Sony. So my whole point is to say, and a lot of them are uninformed. So a lot of them typically are going to say, yo, you sure you want to get that? It's got this, it's got that, it's rated bad, blah blah blah. I've seen people do that time and time
I've never
again.
once had someone question
I've
my
had-
purchases, and I've bought some
I've had
trash.
plenty of other people in the community who've also pointed that out and said that they've done that. So
Yeah,
even
I've
if you
seen
don't,
that
even if
too.
you want to ignore the GameStop point, the entire point of it is that bad word of mouth is bad word of mouth. Even if the fans
Yeah.
are saying I'm loving this, overall the casuals who are going to be more that will actually carry it, because they can't just rely on a hardcore for this. It's got to be the casuals that buy in. It's the same situation with
Right.
Elden Ring. If this is a situation where it's rated poorly, but we are going to play it just because we are Todd Howard fanboys, much as in a situation of Redfall,
I mean, those
it's
ones
going
will
to
exist.
fall off after a
Oh, yes.
while. I think people can lie to themselves all they want. I've seen people who will say, I'm still playing Redfall, it's great. And that's
Yeah.
not to say you cannot enjoy
You mean like that guy who said he was on his 50th playthrough of Spider-Man?
Exactly. But at least that was a good game. But my point of it is that
I mean,
you can enjoy bad games. There is no mark to say that you cannot do that. If Starfield comes out and it's bad and people still play it, they're still going to play it. You're right about that part. However,
Yeah.
how long is that going to last? And also, what is the cost?
it's gonna last as long as people keep talking.
No,
about
but what
it.
is the cost? Because if you have a terribly rated Starfield after you just had a terribly rated, broken Redfall, what happens to the brand recognition of Xbox? It goes down further. It cannot happen.
Yeah,
And
it goes down further especially for people like us, but you
it
were
goes
saying
down
just a
for
second ago that it needs to
everybody.
go.
We carry that.
Not if
brand.
we're loving the game.
Yeah.
If me and you and everybody
Danny,
who's
if a
playing
game is
this
rated
game
as low as
outside
you
of
said,
IGN,
I'm not going to be loving it. I have better taste. And I have
but
better
that's
games
not
to
my
play.
point. My point is, if the game is good and people are saying that it's good,
But you said bad. You
who-
said a 2. So it can't be
yeah,
good. If
I
it's a
was
2.
exaggerating. Look,
Let's say
if
it's a
people are-
5. If a 5 is not
Sure.
good, Danny.
If me and you, if I go up to my friend and I'm like, I'm playing this game and I love it and you should play
And
it.
then your friend
then
plays
they're
it
gonna
and he
play it.
defines it as shit because it's a 5 overall to him. What is that going to make the difference of?
That's okay, but that's not what I'm saying. If the game is good, people will like it. If the review score
it's
is
good,
bad,
that's my
it doesn't
point.
matter if the game is
Danny,
good.
see,
Wait,
hold
are
on,
we
hold
talking
on.
about
Wait.
Redfield?
Time out.
I'm just-
There's a weird economy going on here. If the game
Right.
is good, but then the reviewers give it bad, how does that work? Typically,
Because sometimes people have different
despite,
opinions.
No. Despite the
Tears
tinfoil
of the
hat
Kingdom's got nonstop 10s, and it's a 720p
It sure as hell
game
ain't
that
gonna
runs
be
at
a
20
10, that's
frames a
for sure.
second, and you play with sticks and rocks. What do you mean?
Let's clear.
How can
Let's
the review
see.
scores
Let's
be
clear
wrong?
this up because I know your high pitch makes you think you're right, but let's clear this up. A sub 20
You
frames
guys
per
are great
second
together,
game.
by the way. I love this
Let's
show.
clear this up. So a sub 20 frames
We need
per
to hug
second
it out.
game that still has a
We
great
do.
story, great mechanics, everything else. You can still play on your PC, by the way. I know, for instance, a good brother of ours is playing on his PC right now, and he's rating it highly, and I know his taste. So I'm pointing this out to say, arguing about it being 720p does not diminish a game being good. I love Rise. Hold on. I like Rise, Son of Rome. It's at 900p. Does that make it a bad game to me? No. That doesn't mean
No,
anything.
but it got bad review scores, so you should hate
but
it.
it got bad review scores. My point to you is I can enjoy it as a gamer. I can enjoy a bad game, a quote unquote bad game. Will that game last? Where's Rise, Son of Rome 2? Right? So that's my point.
Because it's so like caca.
Yeah, and what will happen if Starfield is poorly rated? And if you this whole weird thing of it's not going to be all the case of the reviewers see a game as a 3 and we see it as a 9. That's just not going to happen 9 times out of 10 times. It's just not going. That's not a reality. That's a weird thing. So when you say that the reviewers will feel it, but we're going to love it, that is not real.
I'm not saying that that's going to happen.
I know you're not saying it, but I'm saying that's not a real thing
the
to
actual
even throw out
number
as
on
a
the reviews
theory.
doesn't
It's
matter
not,
as much as what the people
yes, it
say
does.
in the review.
It does. It matters what they say, and it matters what we feel.
And they're
Because
like,
if
this
we
game
take
is
that and
amazing.
we're not
It's the best
enjoying
game
it.
ever.
Hold on.
And then
My
they put
point
a
to you
6
is,
on it.
Danny,
It doesn't
if you're
matter.
saying a game is bad, because you pointed out a 2, There's no
Right.
world in where a 2
Feel like you really
suddenly
hung up on
we're
that
going
2
to
thing.
be. Yeah, I don't care where you put it. If you're saying a 2, you're saying bad. Let's just say bad. You're not going to say a bad game is suddenly going to be embraced by the majority of all of us and loved and carried on to the next generation. That's just not going to happen. Starfield is not going to be a bad game. Let me go on the record to clear that up. Again, I think it's
Right.
going to rate from the 88s to 92. But this notion of the scores don't matter is a myth. It's a lie. Also, it matters a lot of ways too, because a lot of devs get their back end because of the review scores on Meta and such. We've known that. So my whole point is to say we can't write that off and say it doesn't matter. Yes,
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm
absolutely
saying
matters.
it doesn't matter as much as people are saying it does.
Okay, well I can
It's
I can
nowhere
agree
near
to
as much
that.
as people are
No,
saying
it
it
matters
does.
a lot. I don't know about as much as it's over hyped, but it matters a lot. But my whole overall point is, if they're saying it's bad, it's not like all of them colluded to say this is a terrible game. They're not doing that. I know it's a lot of tinfoil headery out here, but none of these reviewers are all colluding.
That's not even what I'm saying.
I know. I'm just saying in general. Nobody's. I'm talking in a greater sense. I've seen people. Well, they just hate Xbox. Yeah, I'm sure some of them are biased against Xbox. There's no question. I've said this before. But the grand majority of them all are going to collude and be like, it's a 3. And all of us will play it and be like, what? This game is at least an 8. That's not a reality. That's all I'm saying. So if this game scores terribly like that, it's going to resonate. And it's going to resonate terribly for the brand. That is a fact. You cannot sit there and say that these review scores are not going to hit everybody's eyes and that other players and other fanboys, so like our Hoove brothers, are going to take that and shit on Xbox further. It's absolutely going to happen.
Of course, they're.
And that
The
is not,
fanboys
and
are
that
going to
is
shit
not
on
a
it if it's a
positive.
10. Like
They have less room to shit on.
We
a
can
10.
agree to disagree.
You
I
mean
think
an
that's where
11?
we
It's
should
going to
leave
be an
it.
11. Come on, Phil said
I've
it's an
seen,
11.
oddly enough, I've seen our Hoove brothers celebrating the scores of Zelda today. Even so much as I've even
Because
seen them
it's
dismiss.
not Xbox.
Now I've seen them dismiss.
Well, because it
their own
offsets
games.
Starfield. That's why they're doing it.
No, but listen, they've dismissed Spider-Man 2. They've dismissed every game on PlayStation I've seen some doing. Looks like Spider-Man 2. None of them are standing a chance either. They've dismissed it. You very rarely ever see them dismiss the first-party Sony games. They did that today. So I know this is also for them to dismiss Starfield. There's no question, because again, I made that tweet. They were like, he mentioned Starfield. As if Starfield is unbecoming. My entire point is that those fans, they outnumber us probably 5 to 1. It's so many more PlayStation fanboys, and that negative word of mouth is going to carry over, and it's going to carry over especially if it's a poor game. That cannot happen. This is why Starfield has so much heaviness on it compared to a Spider-Man. There are two different different levels of playing field right here when it comes to these games. But listen, we are, I believe, now at the 3-hour mark. We need to end this.
Killing it.
Yeah, now let's hope the Starfield kills it. So listen, all love to the chat. Thank you all for being here. I love heated discussions like this. It makes me feel great. I want you
And
all,
alive.
it makes me feel alive inside. So if you all haven't done so yet,
Cop cars keep going by.
yeah, they're trying to take me out. But listen,
Everybody in Chicago like this.
yeah, everybody. I hate the summer, by the way. Let me just say that again, because as soon as it's nice out, all you hear is all these noises.
Yeah.
Winter comeback. But yeah, anybody in the chat that's still here with us, we appreciate you guys. Please hit the like button if you haven't, and subscribe. And with that, let's transition to the outro, if we will. Red Tree Brother, tell everybody where they can find you, what you've been playing, and that what you again feel Starfield will score.
Well, thanks for putting me out to pasture so I can get shot by the peoples. All right. So, I think Starfield will score an 82, and I will put 1,000 hours into it. I think I will be playing Diablo 4 tomorrow because it's going to be the greatest game this year. I think you guys should go watch Guardians of the Galaxy because it's really funny and it's one of James Gunn's best movies, in my opinion. Yeah. So you guys can follow me, Game Pass _daily on Twitter and Game Pass Daily on the YouTubes. And of course, you can watch me and Dave every Sunday on Gamers Council at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just listen to all the madness. Sometimes we argue too, but we all love each other at the end of the day. And that's all that matters. I think we need to hug it out.
Oh, yes. All love. All love.
Virtual hug.
For sure.
Virtual
Heated
hug.
discussions don't mean anything to me.
No touchy, no touchy.
Nope.
Yeah, heated
No,
discussions.
not that
For anybody confused,
Don't make it weird.
heated discussions is a part of my thing. I debate like this, so
No, I
trust, it's nothing
love
crazy
it,
like
man.
that.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
So,
Umber, you are
Okay.
the master debater. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I master debated
waiting
just
for that
yesterday.
one.
Matter of fact.
I love you. I'm kidding.
Web Dave, brother, can you tell
Yes,
people
sir.
where to find you? And by the way, I have their Twitter links inside the description. I got to get a bit better and expand on that to include you guys' channels on YouTube as well. I'll probably add that later on. But where can they find you? What will you be playing? And what's your final score for Starfield meta? What do you think it'll get?
Starfield 90.
There you go.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
man.
And at Outbreak Gamers in YouTube is the easiest way to find us. And Retri and me are going to have a really great show coming up on Sunday. We have we do have Keasante coming. We have Slow-Mo Backslap, and we do have a surprise guest coming as well. So I'll just leave it at that. Looks like it's going to be.
Even I don't know
It's going
who
to be
it is.
good. Looks like it's going to be good. So I'll just leave it at that. That I'm excited for Sunday's show, and you should be too. So don't miss it.
So, question. Well,
Yeah.
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, what about with Rand? Is that the situation still? Or?
I mean, he was scheduled. Actually, we've scheduled to actually have him on twice. Once, when his puppy passed away, and his grandfather, and then last week he was sick, and we're going to give him a little while to let him recover, and then we'll go from there. He's got a few things on his plate, so we don't want to stress his mental health, as it were. We love Rand. Rand is absolutely amazing. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And he is definitely
The man with the million.
so love having.
Oh my God, you had that. That was good.
Oh, that was perfectly cute, man. That was nice.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
All love to Rand, by the way. My
Yes,
Chicago.
yes,
my
Rand is
Chi-town
amazing.
brother, by
Yep.
the way. Yeah. Much love to Rand. All love to him.
Thanks for having us on, man. We really enjoyed it. By the way,
No, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you
good
both
time.
for joining
I love
us. We appreciate you guys. I already know that you guys give great conversation. So definitely, when I was on the show, I'm like, you know what? Let me bring these brothers through here. I think me and Danny will have a good time talking with you all. I mean, we do anyway on Tuesdays, us three. So, but yeah, and Danny,
Absolutely.
Danny, my co-host, great brother. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you'll be playing in your overall meta for Starfield.
Absolutely. So meta. So I think it's 85. I think that's pretty much where I'm landing.
That's a great score.
Because I think it's going to get reviewed probably harder than it should, just because just because everyone's putting so much pressure on it. I think that's going to cause it to actually have lower review scores.
I agree with that.
So I think it's going to be like 85, maybe even like 82, like somewhere in that ballpark. Like I think I'm kind of on page with Retri there.
I hope it doesn't be 82.
Yeah.
I know 8s are still great, but 82, I'd be like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, on the IGN scale, 8 means great. I know they don't use the scale
That's
correctly,
true.
but that's what it means to them. That's what it means on paper. It doesn't mean that in their practice, but whatever. Here we are. Let's see. As far as what I'm playing, I finished Redfall. I jumped into that Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, like the third-person, more actiony one. I don't know if I'm going to finish it because that game turns out long as hell, but we'll see what happens there. It was on Game Pass, and I was like, I should play this. I like these.
Oh, it is very freaking long.
Yeah, and I started playing it, and I was like, I don't know if I like it this much. I mean, I'm having fun, but this is a lot.
Yeah.
I can't eat this whole chocolate cake. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's rough. But you can find me on Twitter. Not in one sitting, but I'll get it done. Don't you worry. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG or on my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McG. We've talked about it a little bit on the show. I've been rewriting the DCEU, and I'm currently, not currently, but editing a video of how to save Halo. That Umbra's going to have a lot of hateful comments on, but when he haven't done right. You know what I mean? When he haven't done right.
All the time. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I know you think that.
So what's it say? 8 alien titties. What'd you say, Great Monad? Look
Talking about alien
look at what
boobies.
Monad wrote. Right.
I like where he's going with it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
He's saying that that's the correct number.
That's the number.
And I don't
rated
disagree.
for Starfield, 8 alien titties. Okay, gotcha.
What an animal.
Yeah, and thank you guys again for joining us. Of course, you can find me Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite on Twitter. It's also in the description, and you will find me either way. And I'll be playing more of one of my game of the years, which is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I am on the last bit of planet to wrap up as far as 100%ing the entire game, and that's really it. I've beaten it already. Loved it. Tech issues and all, but I'm glad they put a new update in that was like, I heard 27 gigabytes or something.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, and it re-downloaded the entire game for me. It didn't just download that update, so I don't know what that was about, but yeah, it's definitely playing much better now. Visuals are gorgeous, especially in non-performance. What's the quality mode rather? So if you all have not picked that up, I would say go get that. It's worth it. Very well worth it. One of my game of the years. That, Hogwarts, Hi-Fi Rush. I'm sure obviously Zelda's smoking everybody now. But yeah, those are my picks for game of the year so far, and we got so much more to go. It's going to be an excellent year, everybody. So, and I expect Starfield myself to hit the 88 to 92 mark personally. I know it's kind of cheating, like TZ did, but still.
Calling out TZ like that.
Call out TZ. Somebody said he did.
Just like he cheated, I'm gonna cheat too.
Right. Somebody said 0 to 100. That's my score. One of those is gonna hit somewhere in there. No, but yeah. So thank you all for joining us on the Fix. Come back next week. We'll have much more great content. Matter of fact, Danny, I'll have seen Guardians of the Galaxy by that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could definitely go over that if you're down. I know you are, because I know you're excited to talk about it. But we might have to be careful not to spoil anything. Maybe we do a non-spoiler review. How about that? Yeah.
He muted.
Did Danny? Oh, he muted. Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But
sorry,
probably had to go pee.
Yeah, I was actually muted. Yeah, no, we should definitely do that. It's gonna be great. And then you said no spoilers, and I said they all die.
Yeah.
So spoilers. Oops, everyone dies.
He spoiled it. You all know.
I spoiled it. It's totally true. Everything I said about it just now.
Direct your hate to Danny on Twitter at Daniel McG_. No. Yeah. And thank you all for joining us. We're gonna get out of here. Later, folks.
Peace.
See ya.